ahead and get this recorded. So, what's up, beautiful queens from around the world? My name is Hadiatu Dumbuya, and we are doing another Brunchin with Beauties, which was started at the beginning of the pandemic just to give some love and light. I mean, we all need something to help us pivot in business, pivot in love and relationships, and life in general. And so we created this amazing platform. We've been blessed with phenomenal speakers from all over the world that have excelled in their field and are gracious enough to share their gifts. Now, with the most recent passing of Chadwick Boseman, I just feel like it's important that we remember that we were all blessed with different kinds of gifts. And yours doesn't have to look like somebody else's, but the most important thing is that you share it. And that's something that I've had to learn to embrace along the way. But he has inspired me in multiple different ways. And to be honest, I wasn't a huge fan. I'm not a huge movie person. So I'm like, oh, it's okay. But when I read about him and I realized for the last 4 years of his life, he was battling stage 3 and then stage 4 cancer. But those are the years that he created his most impactful films. So you have to understand that whatever we're going through is a stage in our life to push us to our greatness, and he is a perfect example of that. And so today is another day that we are blessed with 4 phenomenal queens that I've been able to be in relationship with in multiple different ways throughout the years, through my journey. So from my party days to then me saying okay, I need to step my game up and be a little bit more professional, to somebody that mentors me along the way. And I know that not everybody is blessed with a circle like I have a circle, whether it's a close-knit or it's far-ranging. And I want to share that circle with you. And so the first beautiful queen that we get to speak to today and learn from today is somebody that I remember her from my party days, right? And, I got to see she has an electric personality, but I'll tell you something that you don't even know. This young lady doesn't even know this. I moved to Michigan to work for a retired athlete, Robert Porcher. So I was living in New York. I worked for the NFL, and I moved to Detroit to work for him. And he ended up meeting this young lady and came back, and he really didn't talk about women to me. That wasn't our relationship. And he's like, I met this young lady and man, her story is crazy. And I'm like, who? And I had partied with her, but never knew her story. You don't talk to people about that stuff. And so he was telling me about how she came to the United States and didn't speak English. And then to know what she was doing, I knew her as a radio personality. I'm like, what? She couldn't speak the language, and now she's a top radio personality. You've got to be kidding. And she's escalated from there, moved to the East Coast and said, I'm going to keep pushing myself to be greater. Is the author of a book, but on top of that, she's on the news in DC. She is a brand ambassador for multiple different brands. On top of that, she's created women's empowerment events in the DC area. She is known internationally, and I'm excited for you guys to hear about her journey of overcoming, so that as we start this day and as we start our week, we're in a mindset of overcoming and winning. And so without further ado, I would love to introduce you to my girl, Sunni.
Hi.
Hey,
How's
girl,
my light? How's my light? How's my light?
Girl, you're glowing.
Great.
I got dressed for all of y'all because it's Sunday and I don't do shit on Sundays. I was like, let me get cute. I got lashes on too.
Ooh, go girl. We love it. We are absolutely loving it. So girl, listen, shed some light, because these ladies don't know you. They don't know what you've had to overcome. Give them some inspiration to push them throughout the week. Let us know where you came from. How'd you get there? How did you go from Vildana to Sunni?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Oh, so I'll try and keep it short, because my story, I always tell people that I feel like I have lived so many different lives. Growing up in Bosnia, we would go to sleep and my mom would tell us a story and she'll say, the kids in America are they're waking up right now and they're on the other side of the world. And we thought it was like this magical place. So, to live through the war and then, be refugees through 3 different camps in my teens. I came to America when I was 13. And yeah, I learned the language in 6 months. So yeah, I got put in 7th grade according to my age. So I had never went to 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. And I came here and they were like, you're in 7th grade. So I'm in school and I'm looking at everyone. I don't speak the language. I literally understand nothing. And we just made a promise. It was February 1997. And me and my sister brother made a promise that by the time we start the new school year, we would be fluent. And we were. So the entire summer we watched Family Matters, Steve Urkel, because he was so funny. And we had like our dictionaries and we're like translating with the subtitles on. And we're like, what does that mean? We watched Mama's Family, which was one of my favorite shows. So we became fluent. That was basically it. I lived in Hamtramck. That's where all the immigrants go in Detroit. And then, once 18, I started radio, and now I'm 36. So half of my life I've been in radio. So I did Michigan. I did WJLV in Detroit for many, many years. Hey, Sonia! She said, yeah, I remember when you turned 21. Oh yeah, that was bad. And then I ended up moving to Miami. I was on air there for a little bit, went to New York, and then I came to DC, and I've been in DC 10 years now, and I work for Fox 5. I do WPGC, which is a huge urban station here. And yeah, that's like a short, I'm an author. Yeah, I wrote a book too.
Oh yeah, I wrote a book too. Yeah.
About my life. It was just, it's a lot, but yeah, it was so many different levels. And, I'm just so happy and just like blessed to live the life that I live now. And so whenever, like you talk about having like the pick-me-ups, sometimes, I'll be down on myself about whatever's happening. And then I'll talk to myself in third person, and you have to do that. I talked to myself as Vildana, which was the little girl that like lived through the refugee camps, that, was like a gossip queen. And I would go and find the women that were gossiping to like where the clothes drop was going to be, or where they were dropping off the food today. And then I would like find the locations and like be the first one there and get like food for my family and then like run home. So like, I think about her and I'm like, why are you upset? Like, you live in this beautiful home, you're doing all this. And like, how come she was always so happy and she was so optimistic? So I think that you have to find like parts of your life where you felt that, like, how come she did it? And you're talking about yourself. You're like, how come she was so happy and she was so hopeful? And I think that nowadays with everything that's happening, we have to be hopeful, because if we're not hopeful, then what do we have? What are we going to look forward to if we don't have hope and some kind of faith that things will get better? So, I always just talk to her in third person. I'm like, girl, get it together.
Girl, I do that too. I say, Hattie, can you
like, yeah, like, what are you doing? Come on. Like, you've been through worse. Like, if you think about it, as long as there's just so much happening right now. And it's like, you're here, you have internet access today and some free time to talk to us. Like, that's a blessing in itself. You know what I'm saying? There are kids, you saw the picture, kids sitting in behind Taco Bell using their Wi-Fi to go to school. Like, there's so much going on in the world. And I feel like you have to figure out a way to find some kind of hope and happiness in your own life.
I think that that's so important. And, I had to, on one of our calls, they had to remind me, I would always tell my girls, like, it could be worse but if I say that, it sometimes minimizes where they're at and what they're feeling. But you do have to tell yourself that, right? Yeah. So you got to like remind yourself of the blessing that you have. And for those of you guys that got on a couple of seconds late, just so you know, Sunni was in 3 different refugee camps before she came to America, went from not speaking any English at all within 6 months, learned the English language, and then became a radio personality, and now is like one of the most sought after hosts in the United States, right? So it tells you that you can overcome. She's like, oh wow, I didn't, that's you, right? So sometimes you gotta have your friends that, in Jamaica, they say big up. So you got to have somebody to like get you together. Like, you got to have that like cheerleader for you. And so, that's you all day. So what would you say, like, as it pertains to like overcoming, because you've overcome multiple hurdles, right, in life. What do you feel that has been a catalyst for you? Or if you're in a situation that you need to overcome, because some people in business, they're like at a lull in their business. They're like, what is my next step? How do you overcome that? Maybe they're trying to overcome relationships or something within themselves. What do you feel like are things that have helped you to acquire the massive amount of success, the massive amount of following? Like, what do you feel like are the things that you've had to implement into your life to make that happen?
Yeah. For me, I just, it's so funny because I just live this very simple life from what people may think that I have. I don't know, like I'm just, I spend most days by myself. So I'm very, very spiritual. And, you know, I think having that relationship, like my family, we're Muslim, but I'm not very religious. Like I don't practice that every day, but I have my own relationship with God, you know, and I think having that is like one of those things where it just really keeps you going. And for me, I had to be real with myself and look at social media and try not to compare yourself to what everything that's going on. I had to literally sit there and be like, do you know where you came from to where you are now? How amazing that is. So you have to really focus on your own path. I think that we're so mesmerized by everything that people have going on social media, and we get sidetracked and we're always feeling like we're not doing enough. Like we're just not progressing as fast as we should. And I know it's such a cliche to say like, oh, your time is coming. And as long as you work hard, and honestly, you have to be real with yourself and say, you know what, that may not work out. I may work hard and it's going to fail. So to me, I've always been like, I just have a really great job. You know what I'm saying? Like I've always felt so blessed to be where I am, to where I have figured out a way to separate myself from all of that. So to me, if I lost all of this tomorrow and I had to work at McDonald's and they're like, aren't you Sunny? Yes, I am. Do you want fries with that? You know what I'm saying? Like, I just feel just so humbled and so blessed. And I'm like, I'm just appreciating every day. So every day is like, I have my relationship with God, I do my prayers, and I do the best I can do for that day better than I did the day before. And that's all you can really do. And I feel like as long as you stay humble and not get caught up in all this extra stuff, you know, things just come. It's just, it's unexplainable. Like things just happen the way they're supposed to happen. And you can't really explain it because it really does.
So it's more of like just trusting the process. And, you know, like we live in such a microwave society where we're like, if it doesn't happen tomorrow, it's not meant for me. Or we feel that if we're in something and we fail at it, then like it's a sign that we shouldn't be on that path, but it just could be the hurdles that you've just got to, you know, get over to kind of be able to win in life. What do you think was your largest obstacle to overcome to date in life? Like, what is your heart, like the thing that's been the hardest for you?
You think that I feel like I'm still like trying to find my purpose. Oh, I think that's a little.
Your internet sounds choppy. Is it choppy to everybody else or is it me? Okay, go ahead.
Hold on, I think. Hold on, wait. Is it good now?
Okay, I can hear you now.
Okay, good. I just turned it into something else. Okay, it's so many, but I think for me, just personally, like I've always looked for my purpose. And I think I'm still, you know, I think that's an everyday thing. I think that we're always just trying to get better. And, you know, I started radio when I was 18 and I'm 36 now. So it's half of my life. And then, you know, just for a long time, I felt like, even though I was doing all these things and people were like excited for me and like, oh, you're doing chair, whatever. I personally didn't feel good about it because I felt like I can do more. You know what I'm saying? I get so emotionally attached to every story. That's why I could never be a news anchor, because I would be on there like, no, he did it. Like, he did it. Like, we have to help them. You know, like I couldn't do that. And so it's just like finding some type of peace within myself to just be okay. And I think that's just like an everyday thing. You know, radio has been my whole life and I just felt like I wasn't doing enough. And I said, how am I contributing to the world talking about fucking Kim Kardashian and Kanye West? Like, how is that changing the world? And then one day at this charity event, this lady walked up to me and she said, it was so sweet. She goes, you know, oh, this part isn't sweet, because she says, you know, I hate my fucking job. And I was like, okay. And she's like, you know, I just go in there and I put my headphones in and I turn on the station and I listen to you. And you just brighten up my day. You just give me all the little funny stuff I need to know for the day and just lighthearted things that make me laugh. And then I started thinking about that. I was like, I'm not fucking CNN. You know, there's just so much happening in the world that like, that's not, for those 4 hours that I'm on, we report great big stuff that happens, but then also the parts where it's really about me and my personality, like I brought her joy. And I just constantly think about that lady. Like to me, all these years now, like I just focus on her. Even though we have 6 million people here in the area, I literally just think about her. Like I'm talking to her. What would she want to hear today? And I feel like that was my purpose because I was thinking about it the whole different way. I was like, how am I contributing? And now I was like, oh, that's what I'm supposed to bring, is like the little bit of light and joy. So, you know, every day it's just like, I just try and do my best.
And that's huge. Just, you know, I think that most of us on here can say that we've had a struggle with finding our purpose. And as I was younger, I never cared about my purpose. Like I didn't even think about a purpose until 30.
Yeah.
At 30 years old, for real, I was like, I started like looking at myself in the mirror and I'm like, girl, this is a lot of your life you've already had, and you've done what? You've worked with athletes and made money.
Yeah.
And I never thought of it that way. And so then when you get on the quest of trying to find your purpose, it's almost frustrating sometimes because you're like, well, what is it? Like, tell me what it is. And sometimes it's what you're doing already. It's just understanding that it has much more power. So your voice.
Yeah.
You know,
I used to watch Oprah, you know, my entire life. And she would always talk about a purpose. And I'm like, teenager, you know, I'm like, what the hell is a purpose? Like, I know what I want to do. I want to make money and I want to be this. And then once you get into it, and again, it's a cliche thing to say because we hear, you know, very successful celebrities talk about this all the time. You know, you get all these material things that you've always wanted and then you're still sad. And it's because you're not filled, and that has to come from something completely different. And I know that doesn't, you know, people that don't have much are gonna say, nah, if I need money would make me happier, like, you know. And I get that, but it's really one of those, like, you have to find something that if everything else is gone, that you can still feel good about. And so, you know, that's the thing for me.
For sure. I definitely agree with that. And it's a quest that most people have. And I think, you know, there's a lot of moms that are on here. And, you know, what's funny is that I talked to my mom. So my mom was flown to America to marry my father. So they had arranged marriage. And, you know, a lot of times moms forget if they had a purpose outside of having their kids. But when the kids leave, you know, we're ungrateful, all of us. Okay. So like we leave and we go do our little thing. And we never think that like, most of our mothers' lives, their purpose was us. Yeah. And so when we leave out, you're like, well, what are they going to do then? And I realized that with my mom. My parents got a divorce and then she was sitting at home and I'm like, well, Mom, what do you like to do? And you know, it's so crazy. She was like, I don't even know.
Yeah.
She's like, go to your soccer games, but you guys are old. You might break a leg if you try to play soccer at this point. So like, it's not that anymore. So I think we go through, kind of transitions in life, finding our purpose. Now, you wrote your book. What does your book talk about?
So it just talks about my entire life. It starts when I turned 30 here in DC. I bought my house right in the city, and then it just kind of like works its way backwards and talks about, you know, my life in Bosnia before the war, during the war, and then just kind of like how the radio game kind of transpired, which was a lot, you know, just being in Detroit and, you know, hustling and working in Lansing and, you know, having, you know, the foreign parents and they're like, that's not a career, you know. And that was my thing. I just felt in my heart that I was just going to be good at it. Like, I don't know. Like you couldn't tell me shit. Like I've had so many people like, you know, at first they're like, you just don't speak English. Like you have this weird accent. You know, because I came to America and then I learned English, you know, like in the hood. And then it was like, I had this like weird Bosnian accent / it was a mess. Like, you know, and so they told me, you know, when I started working in radio and I remember working for a pop station, they were like, you're going to have to clean this up. Like, we need you more generic, but we still like you that way, just, you know. And I completely get what they were trying to say. And I wasn't, you know, like offended or anything. I was just like, I want to be able to work in different markets. you know, I want to be able to go everywhere and work. So, you know, it was a lot, you know, coming up in radio, but, you know, it was the great thing that brought me here today.
Girl, I love it. And I think that so many women on here have had like goals and dreams, and maybe they've started new businesses and people have told them like, you're not going to be able to do it. But I mean, if that's not a story, if Sunni's story is not a story to allow you to know that whatever you're doing right now, even if people are like, nah, it's not going to work for you, it can still work if you focus on that. And that's all that you care about. And, you know, you've got to believe in yourself before somebody else believes in you.
Yeah. And my thing was, and I tried to not recommend this to other people. But to me, I didn't have a plan B or C. Like, this is what I wanted to do. There was no safety net. Like, my parents were already like, that's not a career. You know, my parents don't have any money, you know, they were just like, if that's go. And I was like, got it. And, you know, I would just ask people that were, you know, above me, like, what do I have to do to get where I'm trying to go? Like, what are the steps? And also I have to practice on my voice. I'll do that. I'll stay late. I'll read books and record them and act like they're commercials. And like for hours, I would just read and record my voice and listen to it. And you know, my former boss, you know, may he rest in peace, I would give him my tape and he's like, you sound awful. And I'm like, but which part didn't you like? And he's like, all of it. And I'm like, I'll be back next week. And I just kept doing that because in my head, like, there was just no way. I was like, man, I got this eventually, but it took years. But in my head, I was like, it's going to have to come because I'm working so hard and I'm not giving up, you know?
Yeah. And the humility to ask, you said that you like asked for help and you asked people that were already winning or in that space. And sometimes that's hard. And that was honestly something that was hard for me for years. Like, I didn't grow up in a household where we could ask for help. So it was like, you better figure it out. And so, you know, I moved here to Detroit without knowing anybody. And when I was trying to figure things out, I had one lady that I would ask for help and she always made it difficult. So she reassured me that I needed to get to a point where I just didn't ask for help. But that just makes it so much harder. Like, you need mentors, you know, you need people that could say like, this is how you do it. And here's where I messed up. But we've got to be humble enough to ask. So for all the ladies that are on here, that's huge. Sunni said like, she asked and she was open to people giving her critiques. Now, as women, we are so sensitive and emotional that like, if somebody says something in a way that we're not ready to take it, and it's weird because this is how I feel, and you can tell me if you're wrong, but I feel like we're so much more critical about how our girls say stuff to us than how guys say stuff to us. Like, if a guy, you brought something to a guy and say, what is this like? And he tells you, you're like, yeah, he understands. But if a girl says that, your feelings are hurt. Like, naturally, as women, we're just like that. And so being able to take the critique that was horrible, girl, and going and doing something about it, that's huge, you know? And most people you gotta ask to have that type of circle that can be honest with you. And then you've got to be ready to receive those types of things along the way. So as we're like wrapping up, Sunni, like, what would you say if there's a lady that got on here today and she's like, I have started my own business and it's not going the way I want. Like, what do I do? Do I stop and start a new business? Like, what would you say to somebody that is going through those hurdles that you went through when, you know, hey, you're getting doors closed in your face. They were telling you you don't speak well enough. Like, what would you tell somebody? What would you leave with somebody today if they're like, what do I do when I'm hitting that wall and I'm thinking about quitting? Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, you have to be honest with yourself. You know, you have to like sit there and reevaluate your situation. And you have to say, why isn't this working for me? You know, why isn't this selling the way it's supposed to? What can I do more? What can I do less? Who do I need to reach out to? I think a lot of times we have this idea of what we want to do and how we want it done. And once you get into it, you're like, holy shit, this isn't how this works. And then a lot of times you have to be honest and you have to realize that a lot of stuff is going to take a long time. You know, on social media, we see the results. You don't see the struggle. You know, and a lot of people that are uber successful they started that long time ago. So I think, again, being humble enough and being honest with yourself and really asking yourself, like, is this something I really want to do? And am I willing to fail at it? and then build myself back up. So once you like realize that that's exactly what you want to do, then you kind of just go from there. And I think that, you know, even for me, it was one of those, I decided that's what I wanted to do. And there was like in my head, it was just like, oh, I'm going to fail at it many times. And I did, if you read about it in my book. But at some point I was like, but I still have a way to go. Like I still have ways to go to where I'm trying to go. So there's no way that hurdles along the way are going to stop me. And I think once you figure out that that's something that you really love and you really want to do, there's no way you're going to turn back.
I love it. I love it. Honesty with yourself, which we're not all so great with doing that, right? So we've got to keep ourselves in that place. Now, Sunni, do me a favor in the chat, put in how they can follow you, put in your website so people can, if they want to like follow more about your life. Like we just gave you guys like a snippet so people will learn a little bit about Sunni. You're like, how do I do this?
I know. I said, wait, what? How do I do?
I'll put it in here. I'll put it in on the next video. I'll go ahead and I'll put all your stuff in there. But guys, she's uber busy. And literally when I asked Sunni, like, hey, will you do this? She's like, okay. She didn't even ask like a bunch of questions. She's like, sure. And I'm grateful for that. I know that there's 20 zillion people asking you to do multiple different things. I know you get paid to speak and you're doing this and just being a platform for people for free. But I want the ladies to all follow you on social media. So Sunni and let me see, Sunni and
it's and okay, so
okay, good.
IG and Twitter. Oh shit, I got it. Oh. Okay, I have never done this like in a group. Everyone.
Yep, everybody. So she'll have.
Do you guys see it? I don't know.
No, girl, you didn't. Did you push send?
Oh, it went to one person, but we're everyone. Oh, everyone. Okay, sorry.
So everybody's learning new stuff.
Yeah.
Look, you said they're already following you on IG. Awesome.
Sunni in the city. Yeah. And then my link of my book and stuff is just through my Instagram. But yeah, you know, I'm just always down. Girl, I'm working from home. You know, I got the cats in here. They're fucking up the house. It's just, this is like a good, really, oh, I didn't mean to curse. Ooh.
You're okay. You're okay. We're forgiving you right now. You're good.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we're good. We're good. But we appreciate you. We appreciate your honesty and humility and giving us just some different tips to overcome. And guys, I always just feel like, you know, once Robert, he was like, you got to just hear her story. I kept saying like, all right, I'll figure out what her story is. And I've watched you for years and watched the things that you've done along the way. And guys, that's a true testament to you being laser focused. And Sunni said one other thing that I want to point out, that one of our mentors says is, he says, you can multitask, but you can't multi-focus. Mm-hmm. And so you can definitely do a couple of different things, but your focus has to be in one area, and you've got to be okay with that. And you got to know, like, if it fails, you're going to be in trouble, but you gave it your all, you know. And that's what separates people from being a true winner and somebody that's always doing different things and nothing ever works out. So I appreciate you. Let me see, it looks like somebody was unmuted. Okay, cool. I appreciate you, tons love. Thank you so much. We're gonna bring on our next speaker. You guys give Sunni tons of love. Let me do this really quick, Sunni. I'm gonna be quiet so that you can just say something and then just smile so that your face is on here, and then everybody will be able to get a really good picture of you. So it's not like a picture of you with your mouth just hanging open.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Oh, this is what y'all do. Hold on. Wait a minute. Hold on. Wait, I'm gonna take this out. Hold on. Okay.
Got it. So everybody make sure to tag Sunni, let her know the nuggets that she dropped that helped you, and we will stay connected. So I appreciate you, Queen.
Love you.
Love you too, girl. Love you too. And now we are moving to Detroit. So she's in DC. Now we're moving to Detroit, and we're moving to another one of the young ladies that I met in my party days. Guys, don't judge. So you guys know the like professional version of Hadiatu, the motivated individual, and she knows the Hadiatu that walked into the bar ready for a shot. Okay, she knows that version. But it's funny because both of us were kind of in the same space. I mean, we were both working in marketing with athletes, but what I appreciated was that it was never like a competition. It's like, girl, like, I'll help you with this, I'll help you with that. And what this young lady doesn't know. So Tatiana, years ago, I invited you to my house 8 years ago.
Yeah, I remember this.
Listen, you came to my house 8 years ago, and just let me give you the backstory. So guys, I do a network marketing company. I've done it for 8 years. And I did 2 parties at my house and had my closest friends, like people I was always around, the ones I partied with, all of that. They came over and they didn't want to do what I was doing, which was cool. I wasn't like super hurt. My feelings were a little bit different because I'm everybody's #1 supporter and cheerleader. But I just know, like, God always has a plan. I can't trip. And I did another party and I said, now who would I want to do business with? So, like, you know, you have your party friends and then you're like, who thinks a little different? And she was always a little different to me. Maybe it was because she also has an African background, but I always saw her hustling like crazy. And so, like, as much as we partied, I always knew there was like, there's this other side of her that's different than some of the people we hang around. And so, like, both of us weren't into glitz and glamour. Like, we just weren't like that. We were just super hardworking. So I invited her to my house, needless to say. And I went from having like 26 friends tell me no, to then she came over and there's like 6 people at the house and 5 people said yes. And she was the first of my friends that said yes to me here in Michigan. And she has no idea, you have no idea, Tatiana, how big that was for me, because it was the foundation of this business that has allowed me to give my mom the lifestyle she deserves, that has allowed me to speak internationally in front of thousands of people. And you would have never, ever known that that was a seed that you planted, but you did that. And that's huge for me. And I'll forever be grateful for you doing that, guys. And so, you know, I knew that I wanted to have her on our show. I was just figuring out kind of like where it would fit in our schedules. And she went from doing PR and marketing with athletes to then understand she's got to diversify. And so she's going to talk about, you know, that journey in diversifying, but she owns now multiple businesses, very successful businesses. She's now also a mom, which is crazy to think that, girl, you a mama, right? But it's super inspiring. Like, you've literally dominated in every space that you've been in. You have consistently been an inspiration. And I just appreciate who you are. And I'm excited that these ladies that are on here today get to hear like the importance of goal setting. Like, what does that look like? And how did you get from 1 business to 2 to 5? And they're all in different spaces, guys. You know, people tell you to stay in one lane, but I want you to know that multimillionaires and billionaires create highways. And that's exactly what this young lady has done. And so without further ado, I'm excited to introduce you to Miss Tatiana Grant.
Hello, everyone. I wasn't going to do this, but I actually have it up. Is there any way you can let me share my screen?
Yeah, you can share it. Yeah, I made it so that you can. So, yeah, girl, I already did that. I already know
awesome. So I am going to share my screen. But anyway, I'm Tatiana Grant. I am a Detroit native, and I'm technically a serial entrepreneur. Is something that I am becoming familiar with, being classified as such. But as actually, before I get to the slide, to kind of go into the business side, when we talk about goal setting, it's now that I have been able to reflect on my life, that I realized I was doing this before I even knew I was. So when I was in high school in Detroit, there was all this big news about our then mayor, Kwame Kilpatrick, getting the Super Bowl in Detroit. I was in high school. I was a senior in high school. And so I knew I wanted to go in sports. At that time, I wanted to do sports medicine. And I said, I want to work at Super Bowl when I grow up, kind of thing. So to me, that was me putting in the atmosphere and planting something. So basically go to college, decide to go into PR, and literally I was able to get an internship working at the Detroit Super Bowl host committee. And so it was pretty crazy that worked out. When I was in school, I also put together kind of my target list of places that I wanted to get an internship, dream job, like the whole 9, literally sitting in my dorm room, and I put together a full list. And as I go through this, I will share and show how I actually did reach my goals when it came to doing just that. So my first company that I started was Infuse PR and Events. It is one of Michigan's top rated PR agencies. Our biggest clients right now are McDonald's of Michigan. We have the contract for the state of Michigan, and then M1 Rail, which is downtown Detroit's light rail, kind of like our subway system. Another company I started a few years later is Flash Delivery, which was Detroit's first food delivery service. So a direct competitor to Grubhub, Uber Eats, DoorDash, the whole nine. A couple years after starting that company, I started a pop-up holiday shop because I saw a need for holiday gift wrapping. So this will be our third season of just a seasonal pop-up called Holiday Helpers to You. Last February, I started a company called 2050 Partners Incorporated, which is very similar to Infused PR from the perspective of PR, marketing, events, email marketing, things of that sort, except we have a very specific lane and lens of diversity and inclusion, community impact, community engagement, and social impact. And unfortunately, my business partner in that company passed of COVID-19 earlier this year. But what we did is we morphed together my PR and marketing background, and he was big in the social impact and diversity and inclusion worlds. So we started that company, brought our skill sets together. And then as Hadi shared, I became a mom in 2018. And at that time, it was 6 weeks before I had my daughter, and I just had my baby shower, and I found out that my business partner was embezzling money, lots of money. And so literally I'm about to give birth to my first child. So that was Flash Delivery. And at the same time, when we talk about God and how he makes everything happen for a reason, it was so crazy because a few months prior to that, I had just gotten a liquor license for Flash Delivery because I saw Grubhub and Uber Eats and everybody coming in, and we're self-funded. All of my companies, I've never had an investor or anything like that. So that last year, 2018, we were bleeding money, bleeding cash, going through our reserve. So I got us a liquor license so we could do liquor deliveries. And so it was crazy because I was talking to my mentor and I told her I was able to get this license. And she said, "You don't know this, but the governor just appointed me to the Medical Marijuana Licensing Board. Since you figured out how to get your liquor license and you have your delivery company, you need to figure out how to deliver weed." Literally, this was right before I was about to give birth. So I look at it as God was closing one chapter with Flash Delivery, and he was opening another chapter with my marijuana business. So at the same time, I was going through all of these deep emotional, like you're about to have a kid. I had all this weird angst when it came to becoming a mom, being an entrepreneur. I've never really taken a true step away from my business. So I didn't know what was going to happen. And when I looked at it, I came up with the concept of Renaissance Mom. And it's basically a celebration of the badass Renaissance mom. I say it's the mom version of Renaissance man. So literally doing anything, everything in the best way you know how. And so basically it's a shirt line that celebrates the year that you became a mom. And then the marijuana company, cannabis company is Cultivate Michigan Solutions. And I received my event license in December of last year. And it is Michigan's only licensed cannabis marketing agency. And the reason why I did it as a separate company was because 2050 and Infused has government and corporate contracts, and I didn't want there to be any weird anything with our clients. So that's kind of just a high level of who I am. So as I talk about goal setting, these are literally when I'm talking about being in high school, being in college, when I put together my list of this is where I want to be, this is who I want to work for, I literally put it on paper. So Sundays are my self-care Sundays. So a couple weeks ago, Hadi hit me up and I was like, I get my massages. And so it's funny because before I was even making money, I can't even say before I was making money because I am a hustler, straight up That's just in my DNA. So, looking back in high school, my mom told me I was making more money than like some people who had kids and stuff. But that was because I worked after school every single day. I worked on the weekends. I was getting paid under the table because I was so young. I was babysitting. And at that point, I don't even know how I found out about it, but I fell in love with massages in high school. And so that was my treat to myself, is I would save up my little money and I would get my massages. And so that has continued throughout my career. So anyway, these are all organizations that I literally dreamed up, put it on paper, and literally was ruthless as to how I would get to these people. I am 36. So some of these places, like me getting an internship, I was literally faxing my resume. I was calling, I was stalking, I was asking, my friends' parents who knew this, just whatever way I needed to get in. But I will say the two that stick out, there's three that for me are very big. One is, it's actually, they're connected. North American International Auto Show is the biggest automotive show in the world, and is held in Detroit. And basically, I was in college, and they sent it around to all like the college students. And so I was the most aggressive, and y'all, I worked my ass off. I remember, and I was about an hour away, but the auto show is downtown. So I was an RA in the dorms, and I will never forget this. My mom probably even remembers it. And I would have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to be downtown by 5 a.m. And for whatever reasons, I was an RA in the dorm, and my residents this week decided to pull the fire alarm at 2 o'clock in the morning every single morning. So I'm tired. I get up. I have to drive downtown. Mind you, it's a blizzard. So I had to get up even earlier to be downtown on time. So I get downtown on time. Nobody's there. It's like such a blizzard that like they actually delayed the media launch of Auto Show. And because you work there, though, you have to park really far. So here I am as an intern, really cute. And I get there, nobody's there. And I had to park so far. My feet were freezing in my little heels. I called my mom, and I was just bawling, crying. I'm like, Mommy, they woke me up in the middle of the night. It was just a disaster. But so now fast forward about 5 years, and I am now interviewing for my quote unquote dream job, working for the Palace Sports and Entertainment. For those of you who don't know, at that time, the Palace owned the Detroit Pistons and the Detroit Shock. So I'm literally on my interview, and the minute I sit down, the gentleman asked me if I know why I'm there. And I said, yeah, because you told me you had my dream job. And he said, yeah, I mean, that's part of it, but do you know why you're here? And I said, I guess not then. And he said, well, when I saw your resume, I saw that you had interned at the North American International Auto Show. And I said, yeah, I did. And he said, well, one of my best friends is the vice president there, Mike DeVilling. I said, oh, I know Mike. He said, yeah, I called Mike and I said, I'm thinking of bringing this young lady in for an interview. What do you think? What should I know about her? And he said, Mike said, hire her. And he said, I asked, is there anything you can elaborate on? And he said, you need to hire her. And he said, so that's the reason why you're here. If you came that recommended, and mind you, I was an intern there. But I know when I look at myself in comparison to the other interns who were there, I was leaps and bounds ahead of them. And it wasn't because I had any particular skill set. It was just because I grinded that much harder. I was the one that went to them when I was done with the project and said, I finished this. Is there anything else I could do? I just was very aggressive about my career. Last story, McDonald's. So here I am, as Hadi shared, doing my athlete work. And basically, I ended up reaching out to the marketing agency that represents McDonald's. And I'm trying to do this Thanksgiving drive for my athlete client. And one of my mentors gave me the cell phone number of the owner so I could call him. So I called him and I said, Jerome gave me your information. He said, I'm walking to a meeting. Is there any way you can call me in 2 hours? So I do that, call the man in 2 hours. And the way that this man cursed at me and was like, I don't know how you got this number, blah, 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 blah. Yes, completely rude. And I'm like, you told me to call you back in 2 hours. Like, I'm confused. So basically, fast forward about 6 months after that, I get contacted by a big ad agency who is connected to me through somebody else that is bidding against them for the McDonald's business. And they wanted me to go in on the bid with them. So I said, okay, sure, let's do it. So and I have friends whose families own McDonald's. So we basically do the pitch. And afterward, he said, you killed it. I'm going to let you know what happens later. So my friend hits me up and he says, you guys lost by 1 point, but the 1 point contacted the company that won and told them they need to try to get you on their team. So that owner, he doesn't know that I know this because my friend is the one who tells me this. He then is now calling me, trying to be all nice, get me into his office, you know, because eventually I find out he was trying to get me to come work for the company, but I respectfully declined. But fast forward 4 years after that, I get contacted by a company, we bid against them, and we got the business. So it just shows you karma and how you treat people. And anyway, so that's this. When we talk about planning for it, and I'm going to fast forward really quickly. And then since I became an entrepreneur, these are some of the clients that I've had, some of the awards I received, some of the media recognition. But literally, when you talk about going for it and having no limits, that is what I had to do. And so I just took a couple of notes, especially as we talk about where we are. But I'm very spiritual, and I was watching my church this morning, and the pastor was talking about this scripture of when Elijah basically had to pause. And in doing that, basically what he said is that he could have given up. And basically he perceived it as, and the enemy was coming for him at that time. So you may feel like you're under attack and people are coming for you and things of that sort. But basically the lesson in today's word was that all he's doing is resting you up for what's ahead. And I really needed to hear that, because as I shared, my business partner died. Because we have a big component of events in our business, when the pandemic hit, we lost a ton of clients. We lost about $300,000 worth of clients in about 3 weeks. And so there I was trying to be empathetic to my staff and know that they're going through things both personally and professionally and dealing with this, but then also knowing, like, as a company, I have to figure out how to get us through this. And it was a really interesting balancing act. But what I will say is that, Sunni talked about it. And at the beginning of the year, I went and saw Oprah when she did her tour. And the big thing she talks about is intention and what is your why, which is basically the same as your purpose. And I truly believe that when you are aligned with the higher being, whatever you believe in, spirit, Buddha, Allah, whoever, when you are connected and aligned in what you are supposed to be doing in this life to fulfill you, it will not feel like work. Things will be drawn to you, and you will have a life that you never imagined. My girlfriend, Ryan is actually one of Sunni's best friends. She just a few months ago got a job as a vice president of a big company that we have here in Detroit. And we were talking and we were just saying how if it were up to us, our lives would not be where they are. Even as children, even in our careers, even when we dreamed of what our life should be like, it still is above and beyond that. So Hadi, if you want to keep asking me questions or you want to interject, the only thing I want to do is to get to this slide, which is how I do it and how I did it. So as I shared, today is my soul day. So I literally went on the water with my yoga mat and I spent 4 hours because I really needed a day like today. And I literally my process when it comes to goal setting is put it on paper. Now, you may not be a paper person, you may be a tablet person, you may be a phone person, whatever the case may be, there is something to be said about putting it in the atmosphere. When I was earlier in my career, early in my life, I didn't really know what that looked like. But now where I am, I believe it wholeheartedly. And when you talk to successful people, that's what they say. You have to manifest, you have to see it, you have to feel it in order for it to happen, because what you put your energy and your time towards comes back around. There's a reciprocal effect in everything that we do. So for me, I literally put together a list, and I categorize it. So at the beginning of the year, and so I'm actually doing something a little different. Normally I set my goals for next year in January. I'm doing it now. So I'm really taking this as a true reset, and I'm literally putting all of my goals down: financial, spiritual, personal, financial. I think I already said financial. Like, I literally have different categories, and I put it all down, and I actually review and see where I am. And I do red, green, and yellow to see how far I am from actually reaching and attaining those goals. And if I'm nowhere close, then okay, tomorrow I'm starting and I'm figuring out how to at least get to close to where that goal was. Put it on the paper. Once you put it on the paper, I put it on the calendar. Because it's one thing to have a list of to-dos, and then there's another thing to have the to-do on your calendar that says it's happening on this day and I'm crossing it off. Then for me, I meditate on it, I visualize it. And for me, that is what makes it darn near real. And then you have to think about it, especially when it comes to business, you have to think about it from all angles. So we often find that we think it's a great idea, but until you start asking people, how much are you going to spend on this thing? How frequently are you going to use it? Every single business that I've had, I have started with a survey monkey. I like a basic survey monkey that I send to friends and family, just to have some sort of validation outside of my own head that this is what this is supposed to be. So that's to ask others. Your network is your net worth. I cannot say this enough. Out of every single business that I have had, I would say 95% of our business has all come in through word of mouth. More people know me and my name than they know my businesses. And so, when you're in marketing, it's hard to say, okay, I need to do my own marketing, I need to do my own personal branding, but ultimately people know me. So that though speaks to your network being your net worth. For me, along those lines, the reason why people do refer people to me is because my work speaks for itself. Luckily, I have worked diligently to build a reputation. And so in that, I get people coming in at all angles. Managing your time is an asset. So when you talk about putting it on the calendar, that's part of that time management. Like I said, goals are goals. Check in on them. Get the help that you need. One of the previous slides, I showed Wayne State University, my first company. I didn't have any money. I literally went to the law clinic, and law school students registered and did everything for my company for free because I didn't even have any money to register it. And then be open and let the vibes flow. So a lot of this is the same. And then beyond that is I just lived lived within my means. I'm very big on financial security, putting money away. That's at one point the only way I was getting through certain things. For my company 2050, the only way we were able to survive this pandemic was that we had a cash reserve from the first year. My food delivery service, the only way we survived and had money to deal with Grubhub and everybody else is because we had a cash reserve. So make sure, whatever you have coming in, you put a little bit away. And again, where there's a will, there's a way. Well, Hadi was talking about when it comes to serial entrepreneurs, this is what I'm trying to be. So when you see these gentlemen right here, you will see all these different ventures that they have had and that they still have. But ultimately, there's something to be said about being a serial entrepreneur. And then last but not least, these are some mantras that I live by. Shoot for the moon, and even if you miss, you'll be amongst the stars. What doesn't kill you will make you stronger, and I believe that shit wholeheartedly. And it's never too late to be what you might have been. So don't take any day for granted. And then last is just my contact information.
This is awesome, Tatiana. And it's crazy because, like I said, I've known Tatiana for years and years. She's done amazing things forever. But even you just taking the time to put together a presentation, it's just showing, like, when you go above and beyond, people remember that. And it's funny that you're talking about your internship is what got you into your career. That's how it was for me. I worked at the Indianapolis Colts, and I used to, I will go in early. So I was playing soccer in college, and I was working and going to school. So soccer at Division I school is a job in itself, but I was like, I still need to do stuff. And so I remember I would go in and I would bring like coffee to people in the morning, and I would go to every office and be like, hi, you know, I'm Hadi. And they're like thinking this little crazy girl walking around, you know, and I was so excited doing that. And I did that every day. And I just felt like it was super important to do that. But what happened was, during that time, I ended up starting to babysit some of the coaches' kids, because I knew that people are attached to their children. Well, and if you love their kids, they love you.
Yes.
And so I started babysitting some of their kids, and I was like, I was involved in their lives. And then from being involved in their lives, you know what happened? I ended up nannying. So I graduated from college, guys. This is crazy. I graduated from college. Instead of taking my job with the Indianapolis Colts, I became a nanny. Now, my African mama wanted to choke everything out of me for doing that. She's like, you got a degree and now you're a babysitter? Like, that's how my mom felt. But you've got to follow your spirit and your heart. And like, my heart was like this, it was a defensive coordinator. He needed it so bad. The mother of his child had died. And so I was like, I mean, it allows me to not grow up for a little bit. I'm going to do it. But this is what happened. Because I did that, he called the NFL and got me a job with NFL Europe, which allowed me to align with then me doing, because I went to school for international business, not PR, not sports. And so he called in and got me a job with NFL Europe in New York, because I sacrificed for him. And then he was like, I'll do anything for you. And so, you know, you pointed out a bunch of different things that I wrote down. Collaboration, number one, which is huge. And I think that we've all got to understand it's not competition. It's working together when you can. Like, everybody has different skill sets and traits and networks that you can collaborate, writing down a list of the things that you want and who you want to work with. So it's your dream board, your vision board, your all of that, having that stuff in front of you, being relentless. That is huge. So everybody that is on here, like, in whatever your pursuit is, be relentless in that. Your resume matters, meaning the people that you deal with can either push you to greatness or they can stomp out any extra opportunities for you. So when I was moving here to Detroit, like, I didn't like my boss at all working for the NFL. And I talked really reckless, but I worked really hard. Guys, I worked harder than everybody else. I was super broke when I moved to New York. And I remember telling him, like, I don't like you, but I'm gonna get this work done. And I would do everything I was supposed to. When I was going to quit, here's what I didn't know. The guy that I moved here to work for, Robert Porcher, he called my boss in New York. I had no idea he did that. And if I knew he was going to, I'd be like, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. Because I was wilding. Like, my attitude wasn't the best, but I did everything. And it was the reason I was that way was because he didn't respect me, right? But he gave me the best recommendation, you guys. Like, I had no idea, but Robert told me, he told me I would be a fool for not hiring you. He told me, like, I would miss out like crazy. And it was crazy because he was telling me when I was leaving from working for the NFL, he was like, you'll never get a job that's this good. Like, he told me that. But he told Rob, like, take her, you got to have her. And so, you know, that karma is huge. So, Tatiana, I feel that we've been blessed beyond measure from you. I
just want to show you guys one thing real quick. I see people talking about vision boards. Yes, this is actually my second vision board, because my first one, I ended up having to leave at the school for the girls I mentor. And when COVID happened, they wouldn't let me back in the school, so I had to make another one. And then this is actually, when we talk about goals, this is like the back of my vision board, where I literally have it color coded by company, personal. and the goals for each company, how I'm gonna do them. So yeah, if you guys want to email me, because I see a couple people asking some specific questions, you can certainly reach out and email.
Awesome, awesome. So somebody just said, and I'm going to do this really fast, and then we're going to get Jessie on because I know her baby's going to be waking up soon. Take us through one of your daily routine. You run multiple different businesses, so it's like, girl, what's your day look like?
My day, so I'm gonna say a good day because the days go all over the place. A good day is I am up by 4:30 in the morning. First thing I do is I pee. Then I literally grab my phone. I do my daily meditation. So I read my scripture. I journal. Like, I love journaling, just to kind of get grounded in starting my day. After that, I meditate. I sit down for about 10 to 15 minutes and just kind of just sit there. I do stretches during that time. I have a bad lower back. So during that time, that 10 minutes, I kind of sit, I stretch. After that, my daughter may be up by like 6 or 7, but hopefully she's not. She stays asleep till like 7:30. If that's the case, then I actually will leave my room, get on my laptop, and go through my to-do list and my schedule for the day. At that time, if I see any major conflicts, that's when I'll send out my emails saying, hey, can we move this around, things of that sort. And I pretty much get my day started. I keep my mornings clear until 10 a.m. That morning until 10 a.m. is really how I get my day started strong. Me being able to be ahead of emails and things of that sort is the only way I don't feel behind. Throughout the day, I have various team meetings with my staff, new business calls, things of that sort. Typically, on a good day, by 2 p.m., I like take a break. I get on the Peloton. I go for a neighborhood walk. In between all of this, though, there are little bits of homeschool because I have a 2-year-old. So we're doing ABCs. I'm putting water in her little swimming pool in the backyard, different things like that. And then I try to cut off my day by 4 p.m. Some days it works, some days it doesn't. And then I'm in the bed by 10 and then again up by 4:30.
I love it. I love it. I love all of that and some. It's the schedule that matters. Like I like to say a beggar and a billionaire both have the same 24 hours in a day. It's just how you manage it, and so putting together a schedule and you doing a morning routine, which is something that if you've never been in business, you don't know how important it is, like because you just get up for work. But when you're running a business, you have to have a routine. In every wealth book, it talks about that. And almost every one, they talk about meditating and going through your to-do list. There are certain success principles that don't change no matter what it is that you're doing. It's just important that you do it. Right? So it's getting in the habit of it. So I think that we've got most of the questions answered, but do me a favor, Tatiana, in the chat, go ahead and put in how they can connect with you via social media. Let them know your website that you have. That way we can stay connected through that. And guys, Tatiana's one of my friends I reached out to, and this is where they talk about your network is your net worth. Start thinking about this, ladies. Like, if you don't have a group of people that you could reach out to that can inspire, and these don't have to be people you talk to every day, then you've got to step up your network, man. You got to start being around different people. And, there's a young lady that's on here right now from Uganda. And this is a young lady that I met through social media. I just spoke on her show in Uganda. She works for a company that does like career advice and stuff. And so it's crazy, or maybe she's in Kenya. I can't remember if she's Kenya or Uganda. Kenya. Oh yeah, she just got me together. Thank you, Charity. And the way I met her was from us putting these things together. Guys, like minds will be attracted to each other. And so letting people know that this is the type of stuff that you're interested in, these are the types of things that you put together, you start to connect with people that want more and will do more, and you can have them mentor you in different things. Like, just to think of all the things that Tatiana has done in the short amount of time that she's been here is absolutely amazing. I can't even imagine what the next 5 years are going to look like for your life. Like, I'm really just, in complete and total awe. And like I said from the beginning, I appreciate you saying yes to me years and years ago, because it's the reason I'm able to do this. This is what gave me this type of platform. It allowed me to feel inspired because for real, my girls that I was always with were like, nah, girl, I don't know. But for you to just take that risk, that's everything. And so guys, make sure that you consistently foster those relationships, you know, whichever way you can. Encourage people, tell them you're proud of them. And that's it. Do you have anything you want to leave us with before we bring on our next speaker?
No, just believe in yourself. Like, now is the era of self-belief, not self-doubt.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And I thank you so much for hopping on. Thank you for the inspiration and all that you have done in the world. I'm excited to see more, figure out where we'll be able to collaborate on some different things for sure. Definitely. So guys, let Tatiana know you love her. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to shut up so that Tatiana can like do her pretty little smile so we get a good picture of her smiling. That way we don't have her looking crazy. So let me be quiet. Go ahead and talk for a second.
Am I smiling or am I talking?
No, you could just smile now because you're on there. Well, you say something and then smile.
Okay.
Think we got it. Think we got you, girl. We appreciate you. Love you lots. Thank you so much for hopping on. Have a great rest of the day, Queen.
You too. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Of course, of course. And guys, you know I like to do the 5 gratefuls. And so before we go into this next speaker, and we're just going to let you write these down so we can move into the next speaker, and you can put them in the chat. Write 5 things that you're grateful for right now. See, we just heard from 2 phenomenal speakers in Sunni and Tatiana. And sometimes when we hear about people doing great, we're like inspired, but then you start looking at yourself like, well, am I doing what I'm supposed to? And the only way you can get to your next level in life is if you're grateful for where you're at right now. Like, if you want a new car, be grateful for the car that you have right this second, and then, you know, be grateful for the car that you're going to have. And so everybody write down their 5 gratefuls, and you can put it in the chat. You can write it down, whatever it is, make sure you have them. I'll read out some. I haven't even written mine out, but I'll just tell you. So number 1, I'm grateful for this Brunchin with Beauties community. You ladies have made it something where my Sundays are something that I look forward to multiple different ways, from the inspiration from the speakers to also just hearing how it's helping you along the way. So that. Number 2, I'm hungry. So I'm really grateful that I'm going to have a really good vegan meal right after this. And so I'm super grateful for that. Number 3, let me tell you what I'm real grateful for today, especially is my wig. Now, the reason that I say that is because up underneath here, we are struggling today, right? And so I am so grateful for this wig on my head. I'm also grateful for my family's health. You guys, there's so many people that, you know, can't say the same thing. My family and friends are healthy, and my friends that are going through, you know, things with their family not being healthy, I pray for you in that journey. And the last but not least, I always say I'm grateful for this. Guys, I'm so extremely grateful for the ability to say that I have a passive income that I'll be able to share with my future kids and my daughter now and with my mom. I would have never understood the importance of it until probably now more than ever. You know, I've seen so many of my friends who are winning in life, you know, and maybe they got laid off from jobs. Like, I had friends that were making 6 figures and got laid off and had to file for unemployment. And for some people, they're like, oh, unemployment is great. You know, they're giving extra $600. Well, not if you're making $200,000 a year. You know, and so I'm so grateful that I've always been open to having a passive and or residual income and that it's flowing abundantly. So those are my 5 gratefuls. I see all the other ones coming in. I'll read all of these just so you guys know, and I love to see them all. So please put them all in here because sometimes I need to be reminded on areas to be grateful for. So I appreciate everybody putting them in here. And I'm going to switch to this next speaker who has touched my life in multiple different ways, somebody that has allowed me to see more of what I want to be. Also just like what true friendship is, true mentorship is. I didn't have the greatest mentorship, I would say, at the beginning of my journey in my home-based business. And I'm so grateful that I found her and her husband. And the minute that I met her, I was like, she's the white version of me. You guys will see that in a second. She's got blonde hair. I don't. Okay. But she is She's just something special, man. But she's also super highly educated. So she has her PhD in naturopathy, which you guys will understand what that is in a second. She owns 3 different gyms, F45 gym franchises. She owns 4 of those, her and her husband. On top of that, right as she was pregnant, during the last pieces of her pregnancy, she opened up a yoga studio in Minnesota. So very similar to Tatiana, where they're like, this pregnancy is a part of my life, but it's not going to dictate my life, right? And she opened a space for true mastery in the space of yoga, and that's pretty awesome in itself. But she's also made multiple millions of dollars in our home-based business. And you know, I love her and her husband because they diversified their income the whole time. They've never kept us in a box, and they allowed us to understand the leverage that extra income creates, the things that you can invest in along the way. I appreciate the 2 of them because they live a great life, but they don't base everything around showing that off, because they understand that it takes hard work to get there. And if they're attracting you by the things that they got, they're not attracting somebody that's ready to work for it. And so I'll always and forever be grateful and appreciative for this beauty queen that is about to come and speak. And so without further ado, I would love to introduce you to Miss Jessie Ruof. So are you there, queen? Are you there?
I'm right here with my wig on too. I'm right here. I'm right here. And Danga, you're looking beautiful. And my first number 1 and like far above my number 2 would be, I'm grateful for you. Who you are, you inspire me. You bring tears to my eyes with the kind of love that you share and pour into this world. Hi, Denise. And I love being your sister, and I love that we found each other, and I love that we can be on this path together. So God granted me you, so I'm grateful to that experience. And this is just one of those many days and many ways that I get to say thank you in front of more than just Martin. So thank you. Thank you for everything. I'm super stoked. Tatiana and Sunni, this is my face. As some of the women didn't get the opportunity when we originally started this call, I was breastfeeding because that's my current reality most of the time. And, you know, although I'm modest in a way, I'm kind of like all boobs out now, like this is my life. And I'm not going to cover up. I'm not going to pretend this is not my world. So thank you for the opportunity to put a shirt on. Thank you for the opportunity. You know, I bought a new headband, you know, but I'm excited, and I'm excited to talk about the topic today. So for those of you that do not know me, my name is Jessie, and I live in Minneapolis. I have a 6-month-old baby. I have an amazing husband. We've been married over 7 years, and my background comes from the health and wellness space. And I was raised by a pioneer naturopath. So what that kind of means is that I was raised on the fringe. People were, you know, would say that my mom was the witch doctor. Everything was weird. It was woo-woo. And the irony, hi Faith, the irony is that all across my life, and I'm almost 38, everybody has always said, you are the healthiest human I've ever met. And so there's a lot of irony along the way, but there were a lot of lessons in being raised in a world that didn't get it, that didn't want to get it, and that was very judgmental around it. Fast forward to now, I very much see in hindsight, which it's always 2020, how I ended up where I did and why I am the human I am. And it was largely because of a lot of the bullshit I had to go through and a lot of the judgment and a lot of the misunderstanding. I always wanted to be a naturopath because, like my mom, I believed in the lifestyle of living well. And if that becomes your foundation, so through self-care, empowerment, and education, activating these inner resources that we all have inside of us to be well, then the overflowing abundance that we get to live in is happiness, it's joy, it's excitement, it's creativity, it's productivity, all these other things. I've actually never practiced as a naturopath, and I'll tell you why. So what is a naturopath? A naturopath is someone that teaches people, educates people. It's all built on the premise of education, that when you put your body in the right environment, so like eating great nutritional foods and remedies or water and breathing fresh air and putting that sun on the skin and having a great attitude and the body inherently will heal. So instead of just looking at the symptom, I have a headache or my knee hurts, it goes to the underlying cause of why is the body producing this and how do we cultivate a better harmony, right? So today I got the opportunity to talk about how mental, emotional, and physical health are integrated and interactive, and really they're the same thing. They're one in the same thing. And so the first thing I want to start talking about, particularly because we're on a call with a bunch of women, is, you know, this is the year of self-reflection, because if we aren't self-reflecting this year, we're not going to make change in the world. We're not going to make change in racial justice, social justice. We're not going to make change at all if we're not willing to reflect on who we are, what we do, and how we show up for the world. And health and wellness is in that same category, is that we have to first take a step back and fill our cup with a tremendous amount of vulnerability. And why I say that is because if you ask people about their health in public, they get really uncomfortable. And it's, you know, what's funny is that I've always been on the alternative side. So I've got an acupuncturist, I've got a naturopath, I've got energy workers, I've got chiropractors, I've got all the things and all the people. And in the last year, I've had to step into the medical space because I had a baby and I had a really I almost died from my pregnancy at the very end. And thank God for the medical space that are experts in what I was experiencing, because they saved my life. And so I completely believe that with all the modalities of medicine and all the modalities of healing, everyone has its place. But in 2020, what we need as women, because we're the caregivers, we're the healers, we're the nurturers, right? We're the midwives, we were the ancient herbalists. We are the healing of our family, and we direct that time, energy, and money. It's up to us to be advocates. And to be an advocate, we have to be educated. So if you just step into the doctor's office, if you just step into whomever's office, my hope is that people would have enough understanding of not only the wellness space itself, but who they individually are and the road that they've been on, the journey they've been on, and can sit there with enough vulnerability to be honest, but enough confidence to ask good questions. Now we don't become a victim of our circumstance anymore. So today I want to talk a little bit about something that helps me understand the power of the things that I do and do not do that make me more or less well. And so more or less well is going to be mentally well. So positive, productive, creative, grateful, right? Like I'm thinking good thoughts. I'm speaking beautiful words. Emotionally, I'm feeling good things, right? The elevated state of emotion would be love. It would be joy. It would be gratitude. And I'm not caught in the weeds of the stress emotions like anger or fear or resentment or shame, right? And then lastly, physically, how I physically do my life, right? So how I move, how I digest, how I sleep, and ultimately how I heal, right? The body is built inherently to heal. It's like when you get a cut, it stops bleeding over a period of time. It becomes a scab, and eventually it starts to heal. So when we can find attunement and alignment to these three levels, depending on which level we focus on, we can find healing in all the levels. And what I have found over the course of the last year for me, and particularly in my sphere, in my community in 2020, is that we are facing more mental and emotional dis-ease and chaos than we ever have in my entire almost 38 years. People that I would have never guessed would experience anxiety and depression, and you're looking at one right now, I experienced for the very first time in my life, because of my pregnancy, because I was throwing up 10 to 20 times every single day, 24 hours for 9.5 months. And you never know the experience someone is going through, and you never know what's really going on, because a lot of dis-ease is invisible to the viewer. So the vulnerability shines in two directions, right? We have it for ourselves so that when we step out into the world, we can have vulnerability for other people's experience. To me, these are the things that start to shift and change us as a collective. Now, I also want to talk to the point that, like me, some of you might be feeling the collective energy of the world right now. And what I mean is, Maybe it is not your fear, but because there is so many people in fear at the same time, there is this collective vibration that we're all tapped into, consciously or unconsciously, and you're feeling worried. Another way that expresses in the body is a stomach ache, or you're just angry, right? And ways that comes down is you don't digest fat as well. You're not detoxing quite as well. So some of the daily intakes that you're doing aren't yielding the same responses, or you have a headache. You're like, why do I have this chronic headache? And the point is that it's because we all are connected, and your level of empath, your empathy, but it's being an empath to that field, is going to also change your mental, emotional, physical state. So what I want to first and foremost say as I start to teach you some of this stuff is you have everything that you need inside of yourself to not only heal, but to create the outer world of your dreams. You have it inside of you. And so I don't want you to get caught up in the things that you have to do. What I'd rather have you do is just take a moment and put your pen down and take a moment and adjust yourself. Maybe even like lean over to your chair. Get so uncomfortable for a moment that you can't focus on anywhere else than exactly where you are. Maybe it's like you whip your hair back and forth. Maybe it's you clap your hands super loud. Maybe it's you yell at the top of your lungs. I don't know what it's going to do, but something's got to shift you and anchor you back in the moment, because the one thing that heals all levels and all layers is your ability and your percentage of commitment to this moment right now. And energy is going to flow where your attention goes. And a number of you on this call has heard me say that. Your energy will flow where your attention goes. Now, what's crazy about that is if I said to you, what are your things that you do or do not do to determine your overall wellness and well-being, you're going to start going, well, I eat this, I drink this, I exercise. Maybe some of you have the understanding of like sleep, but I bet very, very few of you say, I do nothing at all. And that is where the magic starts to really happen. It's in our ability to be and to be still that starts to give us the space to tap into not only the levels of our healing that come from our little T and big T trauma as kids that we are raised in, but it gives us our access to different parts of our brain. So we go from beta wave to a lower beta wave to an alpha wave, which is where we can start to anchor in creativity, imagination, and ground ourselves to be able to really create the destiny and the futures. Now, what happens is that when we think about success, healing is a success, right? Making money, it's a success. It's something we have a goal of. It's something that we want to achieve. We create a plan. What we forget along the way sometimes is that you can't just add things to the plan without subtracting all the ways that you're already energetically siphoning energy out. So there's a difference between working hard in wellness and working smart. I'm going to back up for a minute when I say that. I've been building business since I was 21. And when I was 21, started my first business as a strength and conditioning specialist while I was getting my doctorate. And at that point, I had just retired my competitive career. I was a Division I track and field athlete, and I graduated in 3 years with a 4.0 and. And if you would have known me at that time, you would have said she's type A, she's a turbo, she's unrelatable, we don't really get her, she's kind of crazy, I think she takes cocaine for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. There was a lot of energy. There was a lot of go energy. Now, there was not a lot of room for anybody else to come with. There was not a lot of room for mistakes. There was no space for anything other than you fucking win. You win and you do it fast. And so some of the women on the call are going, yeah, that's me, right? Now, I'm not a completely recovered type A, so don't get that I'm still in recovery, which means I still work on this part of myself, right? This is something that I want to heal. But fast forward to this right now, I launched a business when I was 6 months pregnant that was more built into my purpose and my soul than anything that I'd ever done before. Scariest business to launch, because it was basically telling the world without any qualms This is who I am. Judge me or not, like me or not, criticize me or not. And for me, at that stage in my life, that was the hardest thing that I did, was put myself out in the world, right? But what I said was, as I was growing this baby inside of me, is that I didn't want to be this unbelievably hard-charging, unrelatable, masculine version of myself in a businesses that was going to be successful, success being determined by its ability to help other people. Because you cannot help other people without connection, without trust, without relatability. I also didn't want to help people by telling them, but I wanted to create a space for them to come and help themselves. So how well am I inviting someone to the table if I'm telling them the only way to do it is to win? The only way that you're welcomed is if you go as fast and hard as possible. The only way to heal is to do it my way or the highway, to go from A to B. The only way to do it is black or white, all in duality. There was no space for that. So for the last year, I've done a lot more inner work and a lot more inner healing on understanding where I was putting my energy. Even after being in recovery for over a decade, I still had other areas inside of myself that I needed to heal and soften. We live in a mind-body reality. It's just the truth. It's the think, feel reality. And one of the things that's really important to understand is, we are creatures of habit. I mean, Tatiana just told a great example of how goals and habits are part of every single successful journey. One of the things that she also said, though, was how powerful God was, and whatever you believe, and I'm going to call it the unknown. The magic is in the unknown. The magic doesn't lie in our control. And these are lessons that I continue to learn in myself, is that as smart as I am, and as educated as I am, and as successful as I am, the best moments of my life come because I can sit still and be connected to my source, and whatever that means for you. And I can allow the unknown and the magic. Now, let me tell you a little bit of story about that. As I'm launching this business, I was super sick all day, all night. Now, I was a one-man band at that time. I didn't have help. My partners were focused on our other businesses. This was my baby. But I hired a really, really, really great team. And all I had to do every single day is I had to give it to God. I had to give it to God. I'd be grateful for the opportunity. I had to give it to God, because nothing that I could do for the business, so whether it was operational, whether it was marketing, finance, whatever, nothing I was responsible for, I felt like I was doing well. Because I couldn't do anything well other than like lay on the couch or go to the toilet and throw up. I just felt like, and this is all I got. And so it was an unbelievable lesson of humility, and to ask for help and to give it to God. And I kept giving it to God. Now, what was crazy is 2 months into opening a business. Now, if anybody's ever been in the fitness space, it takes 2 years to get a business really launched. It's really 2 years to launch any business. You don't make money for 2 years. Like, you don't get forward. You have to have the tenacity and enough cash in your back pocket to be able to get there. That's typical, and it's atypical business and a typical business. 2 months in, I get a phone call from someone that I knew of, but never knew. Long story short, she wanted to merge her business into mine. So within 2 months, connecting to the unknown, right? You could say manifested, or was open and available to the space of this business coming into my business and expanding and doubling my membership right away. 3.5 months into opening the business, COVID happens, and guess what? We had to shut our doors. Okay. So for 3.5 months, so there was just constant adversity. But because of these principles of understanding the way that my mind is thinking, the way my body is feeling, and the way that I am taking action in their relationship to my wellness and well-being, which is my success or failure in my life, which is my creatability, my visioning, and my imagination of creating my outer world, I had to go in, and every single thing that has happened over the last year as a challenge has made me go in even deeper. Because guess what? I was going in. Of anybody, I was going in. I've been doing yoga since I was 15. I've been meditating since I was 15. I'm not a young buck. This isn't my first rodeo. But I needed to go deeper. I needed to go deeper and deeper and deeper. I also knew that there was a fetus inside of me feeling my energy. And it was more important than ever that my embodiment And my electromagnetic field, which I'm going to tell you how that happens, was being literally fueled and funneled into a different being, one that I've loved more than any being in my entire life times a million. Mothers, you get that. So I had a new level of responsibility to my own embodiment, to my own limits, my own negativity, my own energy siphoning into shit that didn't matter. So I had to get really clean and really clear. And so my point in saying that is this: we are in a constant purging of our excellence. I'm going to say that again. We live in a state of constant purging for our excellence, for our beauty, for our perfection, for our miraculous gifts. Motherhood is the best gift I've ever received, because it constantly is shedding a layer off. Whether I was aware or unaware, it was there, it sheds. And I'm going to tell you something, when it sheds, it hurts. It hurts me either mentally because I thought my beliefs were in a good place, and it challenges me to think about something new, or it brings me to awareness to sit back and ask different questions. Challenges me emotionally. Sometimes it makes me feel like I'm a failure, makes me feel like I'm not doing good enough, makes me feel sad, angry. I live in Minneapolis. George Floyd was murdered. I'm not even kidding. Two miles away from my house. I felt that collective energy more than anything. I couldn't get out of grief. I couldn't stop crying. I couldn't. And now I'm married to an African American, and my son is biracial. I am white. I can't change that. I don't want to not be proud of that. But I have to ask myself questions about how I'm going to show up. And all of a sudden, I want to show up more. I want to show up differently. I want to show up better. And so that purge, uncomfortable. Do I lead with white privilege? How do I lead with white privilege? What does that mean? How do I change that? I thought I'm a being of love. I thought I loved people. Is that not good enough? I mean, we're living in this land of learning and relearning, and the gift in it is growth. So I welcome you in the health and wellness space. If you're new or old or young or just green under the thumb of how do I heal myself, is to sit there with a lot of grace and say, I've done the best I could. I've done the best that I absolutely can to be where I'm at, but now here I am, and now it's time to bring my energy right here. So I want to talk a little bit educational for a bit so you can kind of get why I'm so jacked up and so jazzed about this type of stuff, because I believe in the power of healing. Harvard proved it, my people. Let me listen to this. Harvard proved one thought has the power to heal you. It's called the placebo effect. They also proved that the power of your imagination has the power to build new neural circuits in your brain. All of the possibilities of the things that you want to create and live into are going to come into the way that you are hardwiring or upgrading your thinking. And that's going to come into your brain, and it's science. And it's really, really cool. So here's the deal. Let me go through this. I wrote some notes because, as Hadi knows, I could go for 4 hours, 17. I mean, it could be like next Tuesday, and you're all like on the screen like, I thought you said 25 to 30 minutes. So I know this about myself. Faith, you're laughing, but it's true. Because girl can go on a rant, particularly where I'm passionate. So let me come back in. I want you to think about your daily habits, okay? I want you to think about what drives that from I go to the bathroom, brush my teeth, I eat. I want you to think about then you go to work, and then you have a meeting, and then you get back in your car, you go on your Peloton, or you work out, or you don't work out, or you take care of your kid. I want you to think about how that is. And I want you to think about how those habits are basically creating an autopilot for you, okay? And how many of those habits are coming from the autopilot or you being fully present? Because I'm going to tell you, by understanding that, you are becoming a mind following your body. Your feeling body is now leading you, okay? Now, this can be done very, very importantly, right? We know that success habits like starting with gratitude, fueling your mind, listening to positive things, these all have a positive impact. However, if you don't take the time to practice being still, creating space, you become an autopilot. And what happens in autopilot, the only way you have an autopilot is to think and feel from your past experience, right? I think I'm doing this because it's good for me, or I'm unconscious of that relationship at all. But at the end of the day, my past is already painting my future. I have omitted the only moment that matters the most, the only moment that I can make a change, the only moment that I can live into my power, which is right here and right now. by not being conscious at all. Okay? So that's challenging some of you right away. You're like, wait a minute, I thought if I do things that are good for me, then I'm going to bring myself into a better position. I'm not saying that. There are a lot of good things, but what I'm saying is it's not so much about what you're doing, but it's about the energy that you put into these daily habits that is going to matter most. If you're trying to create a new future, if you're trying to set up your state of healing or success or love or freedom or whatever these embodiments or values are, they only live right now. They only live right here, which is why affirmations have to be in the present. Why owning who you are right now is the only way that it's going to come into reality, because this is how you open the receivership of well-being. The receivership. This is how you tap into the inner world, which is painting the outer world. And I hate to say that out loud in a lot of ways because it puts people on their heels. If you say to somebody, you are the constant in the equation, okay? You are the writer of the story. And a lot of people who are still living in a victim mentality, you go, I don't want to be here. I wouldn't have chosen to be here. Honey, yes, you did. You did. And it's okay. And that's why you got to first meet yourself with grace and second with vulnerability, because if where you are isn't where you want to be, then you got to learn to be, and you got to learn to be still. And every time we go to our past, we siphon our energy. Every time we go to those memories, every time we build a belief based on something that we did in the past, and we have an emotional feeling. So the emotion is energy, right? In motion. Let me say that again. Emotion is energy in motion. And we do all of the things in our life based on emotion, right? We don't really do that things that are logical. It'd be logical to like eat real vegetables, not like man-made crap, right? It'd be logical, but what tastes good is something else. So we do what feels good. So we've got to bring that feeling sense of ourselves into the moment. And when we move into autopilot, we give up our free will, and our free will is where our creativity, imagination, and consciousness live. So we want to tap into that again. So when we're vulnerable and we open up the space to being in the moment, we can start to create a redesign. Just like a computer needs to be updated, so does our thinking. It needs to be updated. We need to plug in. So I'm going to ask you this question. How well do you sit still? How addicted are you to busy? How attached are you to efficiency or productivity? How well do you sit still? People have said to me a long time, like, you're so intense. And I'm like, I'm just focused. Time used to be the most important commodity in your life, and it's not anymore. It's focus. We are doing more with the same amount of time and expecting the same result. If you're plateaued, are you ready to level up, and are you ready for an upgrade? Bruce Lee said it, there are only plateaus, and that's not the point. There are only plateaus. You must not stay there. You must go beyond. So your understanding and your education will determine your empowerment, but it's also going to be your ability to be vulnerable and learn and listen to something new. See, the more ritual you get, the more routine you get, the more likely you are to be a victim of that routine. So what happens when someone cuts in front of you in line and now you're late? Your trigger and stress response. That means you're angry, you're triggered, your energy came down. What happens when an opportunity presents itself? Guess what? You don't see it as an opportunity because it wasn't part of your human plan. What this means is that you're shutting yourself off from God. You're shutting yourself off from the unknown, the magic. You don't seize the opportunity because you don't see it, because you thought the only way for you to be successful, to heal, to improve your health and wellness, or to elevate your energy was through what you think you are doing, which is why we're always doing what we think is best. But we got to take a step back and go a little bit deeper, okay? Go a little bit deeper. So when was the last time you let yourself do something new, okay? I build my financial world around streams of income that increase consciousness, make an impact, and help other people get what they want. That's one of my things. I don't put money into things that I don't believe are going to make an impact to make human existence, humanity elevated, the earth energy elevated, right? Leave a legacy for our children elevated. That's important to me. So one of the things that I do is I travel, and I travel often. Okay, COVID is a pause, and in the moment of our life, it'll be a moment. We'll look back and we'll go, that one moment of time that now some of you are really focusing on is the eternity. No, it's giving you a moment to pause. It is the greatest gift of being in a different level than we've ever granted in our life. It's the greatest gift that we've ever had to relearn or learn how to cook for our family, to fuel our family. To not do things like over focus on your wardrobe and your hair and your makeup and your nails, and to do the things that matter most, because for a lot of us, these are energy siphoning activities. And when you put yourself in your inner world in the center of a sphere and you see the outer world around you and you fill in that outer world, I want you to say, how many of you are focused on the Twitter, the Instagram, the way my eyebrows look? I haven't had my eyebrows done in 2020. They're horrible in comparison to how they look. But let me tell you, it doesn't stress me out. It doesn't stress me out because I'm focused on the elevated emotion of moment of now. Okay? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I also have to constantly set a boundary because I'm sensitive to it. It's okay if you don't like my eyebrows. Okay? It's okay. It's okay if you don't like my purpose. It's okay if you don't like my business. It's okay if you don't like the color of my skin. I can't change the way that you think about me. I can only change the way I am in my skin, in my business, in my brow, okay? These are the gifts that we get, and this is how we make an impact. This is how we come together. As my energy elevates, guess what? I'm going to attract other people, other circumstances, and other opportunities that come into that new alignment of those new healings and new successes and new opportunities that I wanted back then, but I was so stuck in my thinking, feeling loop, I couldn't get out of my autopilot. So I challenge you, when was the last time you took a trip or planned it? When was the last time you drove a different route to work? When was the last time you picked up a recipe book and ate something you've never eaten? When was the last time you tried something that was vegan? When was the last time that you drank water every hour on the hour for 8 hours in a day? Yeah, you got to pee a lot, but you just did it. When was the last time you sought out new experience as a way to upgrade the way that you once thought and the way that you once feel so that you can create a new energy right now for your best next level? That's how we level up. We got to own right now. And guess what? Any new thing that you learn, you're going to probably be sucky at. Show up and suck. Mastery begins at your 1,000th repetition, okay? So if you want to get better at something and you want it to improve, which means you really want to feel better about it, it's not who cares what you do, right? It's how you feel about it. You got to keep coming back with grace and vulnerability. You got to keep coming back with grace and vulnerability, grace and vulnerability. I teach movement because I believe movement is the life laboratory. I believe that if I cultivate a space for someone to be more in their body and more in their breath than anything else, guess what? They cannot fight it. They can't be past or future. They have to be present. Because if I am putting them into a space to breathe so deeply, guess what? That breath brings them into the inner world. Their body's bringing them into the inner world. Now they can start saying, oh my gosh, did I get a moment? Hold up. Was that a moment of space? Is that the unknown? I think I had a God moment. I think I had a God moment. That's why I created the newest business that I have. It's called Elevated Movement. And it's all about the personal resources and the connection we have or don't have to being a spiritual being in a physical life, right? Having that soul self connection, because guess what? When we step on that mat, it's not different. We just think it is. So we believe it. And then we feel differently about it. And so it does start to create a shift and change. But guess what? When I tell people, you stepping off the mat, you're stepping back on the universal mat, man. This is the mat that matters. They say that the yoga practice doesn't really happen when you're doing the yoga, you're on the mat. The yoga practice happens when you're out in your life and you encounter new and you encounter the unknown. Are you triggered? Are you responsive? Or are you reactive? See, responsive comes from a space of space. I can elevate my energy and still, if someone says something mean to me, if someone calls me a name, I can take a space. It might take me a minute, it might take me an hour, it might take me a week, but I can still focus on the space and coming to the space. And I'm gonna tell you, in 2020, this is a lesson of coming back to the space. If there's anything that I can help somebody do, if there's anything that I would tell my baby to do, if there's anything that I tell myself to do, it's Jessie, you gotta get more space. You gotta be more, you gotta do less. Because then every time I do something, guess what? I'm doing it from a heightened state. I'm elevating it. My integration and my interaction of my mind, body, spirit, of my mental, emotional, and physical health, of all of these things. See, they're not different. If you experience dis-ease in your body, sure as shit, you've got mental dis-ease and emotional dis-ease. That is the same thing. It's like speaking Spanish, Portuguese, and English. I say the word love, 3 languages. Did I say something different? No. But it's depending on who I'm speaking to, it's a different word, okay? Speak the language you know best. That's how you access the energy. That's how you access the recipe, right? If you love turkey, you're going to start with turkey at the base of the recipe, and then you're going to add some other cool ingredients. Start with where you're strong, and then add the unknown as you go. So coming back, that think, feel, loop, that's what creates the electromagnetic field around us. Someone walks in the room and they're elated and they're happy. Oh my gosh, 2 people walk in the room and they're in love. Guess what? You don't even have to turn around. You're like, get out of here. Go back to the bed. You can feel it, right? That's the electromagnetic field. It's a real thing. It's now scientifically proven, right? Someone walks in and they're mad. You're like, ooh, prickly, it hurts me. I just got goose. I'm like, get the F out. I don't have time and energy for that, man. It's hard enough to hold this state as it is on my own. I'm not trying to work through your crap. But that's what I'm talking about to my empaths. When you surround yourself with other people at other energetic levels, you're doing their work for them. You're allowing it into your space unless you know how to keep it out. So it's really, really important to understand this interaction that we have. Emotion, right, is the key here. So to level up and to heal, we got to get those emotions up. 3 emotions: gratitude, joy, love. Keep it simple. Love and above. You want to move better? Do some cardio. Get that heart pumping. I don't care if it's a dance. Sometimes you can put your arms in and out. Do it for 60 seconds. I dare you. You want to get into the heart space? Your fingertips are the furthest out of your energy field of your heart, okay? Heart is where love, forgiveness, compassion live, okay? When we move this energy field, we move the emotion and we move the thinking mind. But by being physical in the space, sometimes it just gives us a little bit of focus. And like I said, that's our new commodity. I'm going to start teaching a new class called Female Fridays, and we're going to do stuff like whip our hair for 60 seconds. We're going to do stuff like pop our chest for 60 seconds. We're going to do things that are abnormal and uncomfortable because it's about accessing the field. It's about accessing the energy. It's not about fitness. I didn't build elevated movement for 6-packs. You might get one. It's a benefit, but it's not our primary focus. Your butt's going to lift. It's probably going to be a little bit tighter, but that's not our focus. Our focus is giving you the strength to sit in your faith. That's why I strengthen your ass the way I do. I do things for weird reasons. I don't even tell people. But guess what? Inherently, I'm moving that part of their body and I'm helping them think and feel differently because it's not different. So how well, second question, how well do you know the activities or lack of activities in your life and the relationship you have to them to giving or taking your energy? How well do you know the activities or the lack of activities, so the things that you do or do not do, right? And its relationship to giving or taking your energy. This is about taking your personal energy back. This is about bringing your energy, I call it bringing your energy home. There is a unlimited, abundant, generous energy in the present moment. That's the only place generosity lives. It's the only place abundance lives. It's the only place healing lives. It's right here. So I got to bring my energy home, and hopefully I'm not, like my glass, right? This is my vessel. This is my body. I hope I'm not living and trying to go out and crush my goals with 30% of my energy, right? I want to crush my goals with this level of energy because guess what? For those of you that are out there hustling hard, I'm going to tell you that the effort game is exhausting. It's the energy game that makes hustle alignment, okay? Alignment is when these opportunities and these people and these energies start to happen, the unknown. These are the things like in not even 1 year into my new business, one of my companies that I'm affiliated to and passionate entered the space of well-being for the first time in 14 years. And guess who they called to be the spokesperson? Me. Okay? So my point is that it's not to brag. It's to say I work my ass off to be in the unknown. I work my ass off to be okay with being triggered. I work my ass off to learn and to grow. This is the work that I do more than anything else. And we've heard it before. You want to work on your business, you can make money. You want to work on yourself, you will be more wealthy than you've ever had in your entire life. And because we're on this call talking about empowerment, to me, this is, you want to be more well than you ever have in your entire life. Same thing. Whatever you want to grow in, whatever you want to be successful in, it's inside of you. You have everything that you ever needed. So that siphon list, now you get to ask yourself some different questions. How important is it? For me, my God, I love fashion. Women, anybody else? Anybody want to chat with me about how much they love fashion? Hold on, let me see. Anybody? Nobody loves fashion. Nobody's, okay, oh, I got one. Okay, Georgie. Georgie's got, I love handbags. Yeah. Okay, oh, Juanita, what do you love? What do you love? Is it all what do you love in here? Here's the thing. It can be an energy producing and it can be an energy sucking. How many women do you know? You're gonna waste a lot of time, which is a lot of energy, focus on that perfect outfit. For what reason, right? It's okay to love stuff, but let's be aware of what's taken us out or into our power, right? I'm sitting here today in Lululemon. I'm in a white shirt. I'm in nude pants. I kind of look kind of naked. I'm kind of naked looking. But I'm happier than I've ever been. And I've got some sick ass designer shit up in that closet. I'm gonna tell you that. I could have done that. I could have went. But I'm telling you, 2020 has helped me open that I don't need that. I don't need that to feel beautiful. I don't need that to deliver the energy or the impact, right? So for me, I wanted to put a little bit of boundary between my fashion and me because it did pull a little too much energy. It did, to be frank, right? I didn't get my hair colored for like 6 months. That took a lot of energy out of my soul. My soul was depleted. I got my hair done, energy through the roof. It was magic. Simple things, okay? So we're opening our space to the inner resources. And I want the last question to be this. How well are you creating, imagining, magnetizing through feeling your inner world? Okay? The key is in the feeling. So here are the 3 things I'm gonna walk away with. Here are the 3 things you can get better at. Here are the 3 things to learn. Number 1, create space. How? How, Jessie? I bet intuitively you know. Write that down first. How can I create some space for myself? Write your intuitive list down first, okay? Second, I'll give you a couple options for me. Meditate. Start with 2 minutes. Find a quiet space. Sit in nature. And nature's Mother Earth. She's a girl. She loves you. She wants you to welcome. She wants you to get barefoot. She wants you to be actually barefoot and naked in the woods. And she wants to give you her fields. She wants to, Faith, that's how it goes. I know you're in Detroit. You might have to go to the country. You don't want to get arrested. Don't get naked and afraid, okay? Martin Lutz has that show. That's a whole nother level of weird. Naked and afraid. Well, no, we're naked and female. That's different. Meditate. Number 2, move your body. And I encourage you to move your body in ways that you love. It could put on a song and just dance. Do it by yourself, though. Do it for yourself. Don't do it because of what it's going to make your body look like. Build a relationship to movement that cultivates love. It creates space for more things than I've ever imagined in my life. That is my home. I come home to myself in my movement. I come home to myself with my breath. So things that make you breathe, things that make you breathe deeply, ultimate space creators. Do them every day. Number 2, stress less, move your energy up, elevated. So this is, think about what you're ingesting. What are you looking at? What are you listening to? What are you eating? Is it alive? Is it attuned? Is it in alignment to how you want to feel? That's the key, right? Eating live foods digest easily. That's why being a vegan or even a raw vegan are really, really powerful healers. Because every time you eat something that's cooked over 118 degrees, your body's got to work extra hard to digest. Not saying never do it, just know why and just know what happens. So if we eat more live food, guess what? We get more energy. We use less energy. So, right? So if I'm focusing on my siphoning and I want to keep my energy in the moment, I don't want to give it to my past. And what I do with eating bad food is I give my digestive energy to my past. Okay? So Drink a lot of clean water, remove the outer world holds and attachments. For me, I just talked about it as my fashion. That was one little thing. It could be your Twitter. It could be conversations you have with your whomevers, right? Like your friends that you've had forever, whatever. Remove that. Focus on love, joy, and gratitude. Love, joy, and gratitude. That elevates and calls your energy home. If I'm grateful here, my energy's up. If I'm loving here, my energy's up. If I'm joyful here, my energy's up. And lastly, don't be afraid to feel. You got to feel to heal. So the key is the vulnerability. The key is the inner world. And the mantra that I have and the mantra that I share with any of you that are looking to help, understand the mind, body, spirit, or the mental, emotional, physical world is I create space to move into my wholeness, my harmony, and my heart. I'll say it again. And this is the last thing I'm going to say. I create space to move into my wholeness, my harmony, and my heart. And by holding the energy for space, I let God, I let source, I let universe, let whatever you believe in, do their work. So I don't have to be in control and use all my effort all the time. I know, I think I don't even know what time it is. I don't know if I went way over, I probably did, but I'm sorry if I did. And I can't wait to hear Kina. And I'm just, once again, super grateful for Hadi, super grateful for Sunni's story, for Tatiana's journey and all of her goals, and damn girl, keep going. And I can't wait to meet you. Kina, I can't believe we haven't met before, girl. I'm talking to you. I cannot wait. I already know that I feel like we're sisters, and I can't wait to hear from you. But thank you guys. Thanks for having me. Happy Sunday, and love y'all. I think, Hadi, are you there? Okay.
Yeah.
Hadi, you should have said shut up.
No, we couldn't. There's like, no, you can't, because you're like, I need more. I need more. It's like something you're addicted to. You keep just coming back. Like, I just need some more. Jessie, we love you. Everybody loves you, obviously. You see the love pouring in. I told Kina, I'm like, we're going to get started. She's like, it's so good. We're both like trying to take notes. And I'm like, but we got to make sure that all the queens get to hear from all the queens. And Jessie, you always deliver over and over again. And I've got notes. I couldn't find my notebook. I was looking for it. So if I showed you guys what I was taking my notes on, envelopes. There was envelopes sitting in my office. So don't judge. That's what I was I'm like, I'll flip it to a new envelope. Like, I got to take more notes. But no. Oh, I hear somebody saying something. Maybe it was Pam. It was probably Pam saying, yes, yes. That's what Pam does. She's going to hype it up. But Jessie, no, I appreciate all of it. And I just flipped them all over. I was trying to figure out the 3 thing. Okay. So we need space. We need to stress less, and we need to feel to heal. Everybody take that with you to the bank and then some, right? So if you want to find Jessie on Instagram, it's Jessie Ruof. And she put that in the chat. Also, she'll put in elevated movement so that if you want to, they do online courses or online classes. So if you want to move with elevated movement, you could definitely do that. So she'll put all of that in there so that you could follow her, and her posts are always inspirational. Get your mind together and makes you feel energized afterwards. You're like, oh, I can take over the world. And it is a perfect segue into this next queen who I was texting her. I'm like, I can't wait for you and Jessie to be friends. Like, because I'm like, they're one and the same type of energy. Like, there's some people that do yoga, and then there's other people that are like truly educated on movement, right? And these are 2 ladies that are truly educated on movement and life and being and all of that. And I'm excited to have Kina speak today, because we always have, you guys that have been on here for a while, you know that we usually have Miss Christy Little Jones. She's like, get your life right, wife wisdom. And so she's talking about ways to be like a great wife and spouse and all that stuff. And it's also something to be said for you to love yourself along the way. And Kina like even brought that up, and I'm like, girl, you're right. Because how can you prepare to be anything until you are truly loving yourself? And if you're single, loving that you're single. That is good. That is okay. Like, everybody's path is not to be married with kids. If that's not what they want to do, that's cool. And so, Kina is somebody that I've met through our lifestyle club. And I remember I met her at her office. I went to her office to speak at her office when she was doing HR for this company, and we went and spoke. And the first day I met her, I'm like, I told the guy that introduced me to her, Keith, I go, I like her. He's like, how do you like everybody? I go, no. But like, I really like her. Like, she makes my soul happy. And he's like looking at me like, okay. But then I got to realize the other part of her, the more intuitive part of her, the part that she's an educator, that she is a healer. And, you know, I've been able to reach out to her for her services, for her to work with my brother, which is huge, to know that this network that we've created allows you to have people in your life. Guys, no matter what you're going through, you can heal through it, but you got to have the right type of healers. And that's Kina over and over again. So she has her own fitness company. She also has really unleashed Kina Unmasked, and she'll talk about that. But guys, I want her to dive into this topic so that you'll understand the importance of loving yourself and loving where you're at right now to push you forward to be whatever you need to be in life. And so without further ado, I'm excited to introduce you to this beautiful powerhouse, Miss Kina Hodges.
Thank you so much. Wow, I mean, I was just trying to take all these notes, Jessie. Thank you. This is great, and I can't wait to meet you too. Heidi, thank you so much for you know, just creating this platform so that we all have somewhere that we can come and we can go and be able to pour into each other and learn from each other. And so with that, I do want to respect everybody's time, and because I know I'm coming back on here in 2 more weeks, there's actually going to be homework. So I'm going to start off just so that you can get the homework. I'm pasting in the chat a link just for you to put your name and your email address so that I can add you to my mailing list so that you can get the free resources that are going up on my new site. But one of them will be the actual work that I'm going to talk about today. So I want to talk about self-love, but specifically doing your shadow work, like getting dirty with yourself, right? So I call it sitting with your shit and honoring how it smells. And so, you know, I say that, you know, when you heal yourself, you heal the collective. I say that every time that I come on here. And I mean, I truly do mean that. But in order to do that, you do have to learn how to be able to sit with yourself, honor all aspects of who you are, the parts that you love and want to show the world, and then the parts that you hide from everybody else that you don't want people to know about. And you have to be able to speak to that honestly with yourself. So diving into self-love is about learning how to acknowledge and love all aspects of your psyche. So I actually want you all to type in what you define self-love to be. So just real quick, type in the chat what you think self-love is. And I kind of just gave you an answer, but not everybody at once. Just drop it in the chat. Embracing your flaws. Yep. Gratitude for who you are. Yep. Embracing yourself. Loving who I am, good, bad, and ugly. Yep. Being honest and vulnerable. All of this. Yes. See, now it's all starting to come in. Yes, yes, yes. Yes. Okay. So all of this. Yes. Absolutely correct. So I'm really glad that you all were saying this, because some people will think self-love are the things that we do for self-care. And there's a difference. So the things that you do for self-care is just an aspect of self-love. Self-love is knowing that you deserve the self-care, right? So Tatiana talked about how she knew early on in high school, you know, she loved massages, right? That's a form of self-care. Knowing that not only that she loved it, but she was going to work towards being able to take care of herself by getting those massages is self-love. So it is really about prioritizing yourself, giving yourself a break from self-judgments, trusting yourself, being true to yourself, being nice to yourself, learning how to set boundaries. I think we all struggle with that, and I'm going to talk to you about my own personal journey with that. And then learning how to forgive yourself when you aren't being true or nice to yourself. All right, so to really dive into self-love and doing the inner work, you got to start with your shadow side and healing your inner child. So those are two very, very large concepts, and I'm not going to try and address both of them today. I'm just going to start on the shadow work because it is imperative that you know we all have a shadow. Right? So when you stand outside and the sun is shining on you, if you look behind you, you're going to see a shadow. It walks with you. It goes everywhere that you go. You might not want people to see it, but it exists. And it's not until you can learn to love even that part of yourself that you can't love anyone else. right? So you can't cultivate love for someone else if you can't love yourself. And then on the flip side of that is that people can't love you past the point that you're willing to love yourself too. So think about it, if you've ever been in a relationship with someone and you just want to love all on them and they're just kind of like there's a wall. You can only get but so far with them. Like that's as close as they're going to let you get. That's because there's work that they haven't done. And it has nothing to do with you. It just has work. It's everything to do with them. But sometimes you're that person too. And so until you start to deal with that, you know, you don't have healthy relationships with yourself or with other people. So I'll give you an example. So, you know, growing up, I'm the only child to my mom, and to my dad, I'm the oldest of 5, right? And so I have a brother and 4 sisters. They all have the same mom. We did not grow up together. I used to spend summers there up until I was about 13. And then I purposely started getting in trouble so that my mom wouldn't send me back to spend the summers with my dad and his wife. And, you know, as an adult, I loathe being lied to. All right. And it would it triggers something in my mind where it like would make me angry. I would feel it in my gut. Okay. Like it would make me really, really upset. My son, I mean, I have a 15-year-old. Kids lie all the doggone time. Right. So, and he would stand in my face and I'm like, why is this little mofo like, you want to like knock your kids' heads up. You don't. I don't. Okay. You're just like, you know, I'm not stupid. Right. Like I just, do I have boo-boo the fool written on my forehead? Do I look dumb? But you like get upset. It's like an insult to your intelligence. And I was talking to my therapist, and by the way, I highly recommend that you have somebody that you can talk to in your soul squad. There's nothing wrong with having a therapist. If more people had a therapist, the world would not be the way that it was right now. So I'm just saying that, putting that out there, okay? So I grew up in a household where you had Jesus and you put everything on the altar and you let him take care of it. As my fully healed self, I will highly tell you, you can have Jesus and a therapist. You have to be a part of your own rescue, and you need to get it done, okay? So putting it out there, if you can't afford one, there's Mindspace. There are all kinds of free apps and access that you have to talk to folks. So that's my disclaimer. But anyway, so I was talking to my therapist about this, and she was like, what is it about lying that, and Jessie is a therapist, boom. So what is it about it that triggers you? Like, why do you get so angry? Like, what is it about it that you're actually projecting onto other people because you haven't dealt with, right? So telling you this story about how I grew up, my dad was like the ultimate liar, okay? Like he would forget my birthday. He would call and tell my mom that he had sent child support money through Western Union. We would go to Western Union to pick it up. It wouldn't be there. You know, he would say he was coming to visit, wouldn't. You know, he was like the king of letdown, right? And then my mom, who I grew up with, I, at the time, didn't know, but she told me her version of how things went. And as an adult, you know, I was told growing up that, you know, my dad had proposed to my mom. I don't think she's on here. She's on Facebook, and I'm not sure if she hopped on, but I don't think she did. But anyway, we're in a better place just in case. Hey, mom, if you are. But she told me growing up that, you know, my dad had proposed to her and that, you know, they were engaged to get married and they were in love and all this stuff. And then she kind of told me the story about my stepmom. And so I didn't really like my stepmom just because of the story that my mom told me. And then add on top of that, how she treated me did not help. But as I got older, my sisters and I, you know, were very close, and they're like, you know, so what's up with you and our mom? Because it's just like, eh. So I told them what my mom had told me. And then I shared with them what my experience had been with their mom. Now, we're all adults at this point. I felt comfortable having a conversation. Anyway, they, of course, go back and tell their mom, how could you do this to Keena? And why would you do that to another woman? Like, how could you be that woman with dad? I mean, they went off. And so she calls me and she goes off. And I'm like, hey, I'm just telling them what my mama told me. And if you have an issue, take it up with my mom. So fast forward to when my grandmother was transitioning, she said something to me that my ear perked up. And basically what she said was that what my mom had told me, without telling too much of my mom's business, but what my mom had shared was not true. And that she and my dad were actually never engaged. That was never actually what happened. And in that moment, I was like, whoa, you know, everything that I thought was real came kind of crashing down really fast. And I had this moment like, well, who am I? What's my purpose? Why am I here? You know, if I was used as a ploy to try and get a man, you know, like I'm going through all of this. So I call my dad. I'm like, Dad, I got a question. He's like, okay. Now, granted, this is the man that's lied to me pretty much my entire life. So I'm expecting him to be honest in a moment, right? And so he was like, listen, I never asked your mom to marry me. We were never engaged. He said, looking back, I probably should have, but I didn't. And I said, okay, cool, great, thanks. All I needed to know. Called my mom. We met for breakfast and I asked her, I just said, hey, you know, our relationship isn't great. You wanted to get to a better place. I want you to be vulnerable with me. And I want you to be honest. Were you and my dad engaged? And she was like, well, I mean, we talked about getting married. And I said, no, it's not the same thing. Talking about it and being are two different things. And I was really angry because I realized that she was unable to tell me the truth because that was something to her, that was her reality. And where I am in my life now, I can extend compassion and understand that people do the best that they can with what they have. And that's fine. But when you have been lied to for your life by the two people that are supposed to help shape and cultivate who you are as a person in your formative years, when you're an adult, like lying is like, don't test the Yogi, like don't test me, I will go there, don't lie to me, right? That's what happens. And so I had to start to unpack, why did lying irk me so much to where I could go from 0 to 1,000 if I caught you in a lie? And it was because I hadn't done the work to heal from that trauma that I had experienced. And guys, I learned that truth in 2018. Okay, like that was just 2 years ago. So my entire life has been built on this thing. You know, I treated my stepmother a certain way because I thought she was the woman that came in and tried to, you know, steal my man, but, you know, sold a man from my mom. And here's the thing about that. We all know people make choices. Can't nobody steal anything. People make a choice and they do what they want. But I didn't know that at the time. And I wasn't as nice to her as I could have been. And so in learning that new information, despite how she treated me, in order for me to heal and have better relationships, I had to call her. I had to call the person that had hurt me as a child to say, listen, for my part in this, I apologize. For what I shared with your daughters was what I shared with me. I have now found out that that's not true. I apologize, you know, and for the hurt that what my words caused, I apologize for that. And, you know, had a conversation with my dad. Hey, listen, I talked about y'all to everybody in your church. So sorry, Dad. And then with my mom, you know, I had to have a conversation with her that was a little different. That, you know, I was like, you know, I don't appreciate that you didn't tell me the truth when asked. But you have to be in a place to not be angry. Because I was angry at her for a while. I didn't talk to her for about 6-7 months. And then I got to a better place. So I'm sharing that with you because that's my shadow. Lying is a part of me that, because of what I've experienced, when you lie to me, I will cut you off with the quickness, right? And that was something that I had to work on. And so that's just a small example, not simple, but small example of what I want you all to start working through. So self-love it's beautiful. You know, you see these memes and everything on social media about, you know, oh, I love myself, I'm all this, I'm all that. It's ugly. It's painful. You're gonna cry a lot. I mean, like ugly cry, you know, all of that. But on the other side of it is absolutely beautiful. Okay, so let me just kind of jump. I'm sorry, Hadiatu, I saw you just texting me. Let me see what you say. Is this my wrap it up? Keep going. Okay, all right. All right, so before you can actually start to do inner healing work, right? Inner child work, shadow work, you have to center yourself. So Jessie actually said this, you know, she talked about you have to feel to heal, right? And so in order to even get into that space of feeling, you have to be grounded and you have to center yourself. So you want to be calm, you want to be clear, you want to be in a neutral space. Make sure you have a journal, because all of this stuff that's going to start coming up for you, you're going to need to write this stuff down. And then the second step is you want to cultivate self-compassion. So before you get to know the shadow side, you got to just go ahead into your mind, knowing that you have to be gracious. You have to extend grace to yourself. Because the reality is all of us are doing the best that we can with the information that we have at the time, right? And as you continue to learn and evolve and get the different information, you change. Hopefully you change, you know. So if you have the same perception of the world at 20 as you do at 40, you've wasted 20 years of your life if you've not evolved. Okay, so you should evolve. Your mindset should change. Things that you thought were cool at 20 shouldn't be cool at 40. You know, and I'm 40, and I'm telling you, it's like the best year of my life. I'm like, I don't know how many people on here are 40 and over, but like when you hit 40, it's like life just opens all the way up. But anyway, another conversation. But you want to cultivate self-compassion. You want to cultivate self-awareness. And so in doing that, you have to have a self-reflective mind. You can't do any type of inner healing work if you can't actually be reflective, okay? So it's really the ability to reflect and observe your behaviors, your thoughts, and your feelings, and to be honest about what you're feeling, okay? So how you cultivate self-awareness, meditation is a big one. Why? Because it just helps you be in a space where you're just trying to focus on one thing. And when I do meditation, I'm always focusing on my breath. So as thoughts come into my mind, they're running in and out, but I'm always centering myself back to my breath. And so as you learn how to do that and you cultivate your own meditation practice, you're actually able to cultivate self-awareness. So it's like you are a silent participant. It's like watching yourself in a movie without reacting to the movie, all right? And then you want to be courageously honest. So that's the fourth step. Self-honesty and integrity are prerequisites for doing inner work, all right? So, you know, it's easy for me to be like, I don't rock with folks that lie because my mama lied to me and my dad lied to me, and I've been in relationships where men have lied to me, and, you know, if you lie, I hate you and you're gone. No, I'm not that person anymore. It's easier for me now to say, you know, I don't appreciate being lied to, but I don't project that onto other people because it's now a healed space in me. So it affects me, but not the way that it used to. Because when I tell you that I screamed and cursed out my own parents, the very first time in my entire life that I cursed at my parents, that's how bad it was. I'm not in that space anymore. And so when you haven't done the work, it's the things that are in you that you don't like about yourself that you unconsciously actually project onto other people. So you're quick to recognize it in someone else because you haven't done the work in yourself, all right? So you want to be courageously honest when you start this journey. And then 5, you want to record your discoveries, all right? So you can't grow if you haven't actually taken the time to write down what you found out about yourself, okay? So the writing journal, and it should be a separate journal. I think I have like 4 journals for different things, but you should just have a journal that's just specific for the work that you're getting ready to do, because cultivating love for yourself, that's private. It's not something that you want to share with other people unless you choose to share with other people, but that's something that you don't want to intertwine, you know, with your notes from like Brunchin with Beauties, for example, right? Or, you know, your meditation journal. This should be something that's very different because you want to set aside time to actually do this work. So those are the 5 things that you do before you actually get started. Now, when you get started, you want to identify your triggers. All right, and just start with 1, because we all have a bunch, okay? So just start with 1. And in identifying that trigger, you want to identify how it makes you feel. Like, how does it show up for you? All right, so do a body scan. You want to tune into your physical sensations. Connect to your, you know, that inner child. And when I say inner child does not mean like, you know, the 5-year-old version of you per se. It's not an actual child. It's just that space of where you were in life that was untainted, right? So before you were programmed on what was right and what was wrong, right? That space is what we call the inner child, because that's where you start to do reparenting. And we're going to cover reparenting in another week. But you want to make sure that you know, do a body scan so that you feel, you know, where are you feeling these things when they come up in your body. Then you want to ask yourself, why are you feeling this way? And then see what answers that you come up with. So my trigger was being lied to. Why was I triggered about that, right? Why did I feel that way? And I had to be honest, because the two people whose DNA I share lied to me my entire life, right? You know, and it can be helpful to write those thoughts down. So you want to, like I said, consider, you know, having the journal, but you want to write down every single thing that you feel in the moment that you're triggered. Okay. And you want to be mindful that you're not going to find answers straight away, but you know, you're taking the time to be uncomfortable. So when I said, you know, sit with your shit and learn to love how it smells, that's true. You want to take time to sit and really dive into that. I can even take this to relationships, right? So I love being single because I am very specific about the type of relationship that I want to have. So there are aspects, of course, that I miss not being in partnership with someone, but I don't want to be in a partnership with someone that's not the best version of themselves, that's not a healed version of themselves, or at least not on the path to healing themselves, right? So I don't want to be the therapist in my relationship. So, you know, I can say that a constant theme, and this would be the second part, was looking for recurring themes. A constant theme that's come up for me in my relationships has been that I've dated men that when times got hard, they didn't want to do the work. And they wouldn't show up for me the way I needed them to show up, because it was easier for them to just be like, okay, dating Keena requires me to level up in a way that I'm not quite ready to do. So, you know, we should just be friends. Right? I've had that conversation. Okay, that's fine, we can be friends. We can be friendly, right? But the deeper issue of that, me doing the shadow work, because there's something about me that keeps attracting the same type of person with the same type of behavior, was that my dad never showed up for me. You know, and I had to deal with that issue first before I could start to command it in a different space in my life. So this stuff it's painful, guys. Like, it's, you know, it's not going to get your nails done, the pedicure, the massages, like all the self-care stuff. That's cute. The self-love work is hard. And so I'm going to challenge you that between this week and 2 weeks from now, you take the time to identify one trigger. Just one, all right? And then look for recurring themes of that trigger. So focus on areas of emotional discomfort. You'll notice those themes, right? Write down those themes. And then talk it out, right? That's the third step. Talking is the best medicine. Like I said, you can have, you know, whatever your religious belief, or if you don't have religious beliefs, but you are a spiritual being, whatever that looks like for you, talk it out, right? So I have a soul squad, right? These are folks that help me stay good, keep my soul going, right? So talk therapy is one of the best ways to get through this. However, there are other effective approaches, like art therapy, dance therapy, and movement. I mean, like, you can just put some music on and just dance. Like Jessie talked about, just 60 seconds of just like whipping your hair. I'm telling you, you literally I have moments where you can just dance around your house, and whatever that looks like, sing in your car. Listen, I have 2 Grammy award winning LPs that I sang in my shower, complete with videos. Okay. Because the shower has best acoustics, guys. Listen, it doesn't have to be extra deep. You literally can heal yourself. You can heal your life. You just have to be willing to sit with yourself and deal with the nastiness, the shadow piece that comes up. And it's not bad that it's there. We all have it. You just got to own it. All right. So it's not owning it that creates the anxiety in your life. It's not owning it that creates the dis-ease in the body. It's not owning it that creates the depression. It's not owning it that keeps you trapped in these relationships where you don't have enough courage to walk out and stand on your own 2 feet, because you are just like, nah, I was taught that I need to do this, X, Y, Z, but you don't own yourself, that you can't set boundaries because you haven't dealt with the stuff that you need to deal with. All right, so here's the exercise that you got for the next 2 weeks. I'm gonna wrap this up. So in your journal, I want you to think about the one thing that was triggered, and then you want to think about, what are you judging, blaming, or shaming yourself over? Right? What am I judging, blaming, shaming myself over? And then under that, I want you to write, I want to forgive myself so that I can feel and then I want you to fill in the blank. All right, when I made those choices in the past, I was coming from a place of blank. That could be fear, anxiety, insecurity, whatever. But I now know that I was doing the best I could with the tools I had, and I see my inner child was in desperate need of blank. All right, so I want to forgive myself so that I can feel blank. When I made those choices in the past, I was coming from a place of blank. Fill it in. I now know that I was doing the best I could with the tools I had, and I see that my inner child was in desperate need of blank. All right. As an adult, I'm going to help nurture that need in my inner child by, and then I want you to choose things that meet that need, right? So if you had a 5-year-old that made a mistake, right? How would you parent them in that moment? And I want you to see yourself as that 5-year-old, and you give yourself that love that you needed in that moment, right? So it could be appreciate myself for 5 things each day. To answer your question, Yolanda, this is why you want to fill out my, give me your email address, because this is coming to you in an actual sheet that you can fill out. Do a 5 to 10 minute meditation, cook yourself a healthy meal, walk in nature. Bonus points if you take your shoes off and get grounded and feel the grass between your toes. Set up a virtual coffee date with a friend that you can trust your heart with. Somebody that you know you can be totally vulnerable with and is going to be a mirror for you. Not somebody that's going to amen your mess, but somebody that legit will be like, this is the soul squad. So if you don't have a soul squad, you definitely want to start to work on your soul squad. And your soul squad are people that are going to hold you accountable. But these are going to be your friends, sisters, brothers that love you enough to tell you that your shit stinks. Okay. Right? You want to take a bath, listen to gentle music, drink tea, write in a journal, go to bed earlier, drink more water. Take care of your priorities, honor your commitments. Only commit to things that you feel aligned to do. Like, stop saying yes to everything, right? So, oh, hey guys, don't put your email in this chat. I'll put the link in here again. Just click on that link, put your name or email address on that Google Doc, and then I'll email everything to you because I won't be able to go through and get all this. But honor your commitments. Only commit to things that feel aligned to you. So one of the things in learning to love myself was learning to say no and know that no is a complete sentence. And that even with my mom, with people that it's hard to say no to, that I was able to say no and not have to give an explanation as to why I was saying no. Learning how to set boundaries and honoring those boundaries. Don't go back on your boundaries. If you're like, no, I'm not going to take phone calls between 7 and 8:30 a.m. because that's my time, then don't take calls. Don't check your text. Don't respond to text. Don't get on social media. Whatever that looks like, whatever that boundary is that you're setting for your life, you have to honor it for yourself in order for other people to honor it as well. So those are, and those are just examples of ways that you can nurture that inner child, right? And then the next question is, if I were a loving parent speaking to an innocent child who was feeling guilty for what they had done, I would tell them what? And I want you to think about that, because that's what you need to be saying to yourself every single day. And then I deserve the same forgiveness too, and I'm proud of myself for, fill in the blank. And then when you finish all of that, I want you to acknowledge 3 things. So 3 things that I acknowledge myself for today are. So that's just like how to start this journey. I'm looking at the time, so I'm really gonna wrap it up. That's just starting the journey to self-love. But guys, I tell you, when you do the work, right, as difficult as it is, as emotional as it can be, as lonely as it will feel, because this is a journey that you can only walk by yourself. Okay, that's the truth of that. Like it's you can only walk this journey alone. And there are gonna be moments where, like I said, you're gonna have this ugly cry, this I don't want to do this is too scary. You're going to be triggered, but you want to make sure, well, the reason that you're doing this is because on the other side of this is this abundant life this life full of love and joy and vitality and health and wellness and just energy, and you're just light, and your light attracts other light and other people. And it's really, really important. I can't stress it enough. Like, when you are healed and you are the best version of yourself, you are put in positions to meet people. I mean, this is the perfect example. I met Hadiatu 2 years ago, right? She actually did my business launch party. I met her 3 days before that, right? And she was absolutely amazing. And because of that business, I was able to take my son on a vacation just 2 weeks ago. Now, forget the business part. I've met folks in this business that were business partners, that were friends, that are now family. This is my son's first international trip, but I had him around Black men that are highly successful, millionaires, right? He didn't get that every day. And not only was he did he just see them from a distance, they loved on him. He's got their phone numbers. He's got new uncles now. He like Uncle Corey, Uncle Roscoe. He's just really, really excited. When I tell you that I would have never guessed that in a million years that doing the work that I needed to do for myself would put me in a position to be able to say yes, to be able to see something as the blessing that it was, to be able to then turn around and bless my son, to put him in a position to be able to have access to people and things and places that I never had access to at the age of 15. I'm telling you, it's worth doing the work. So whether you want to be single and sassy and happy, whether you want to be ultimately you want to be in a life partnership with somebody, awesome. If you want to be married, awesome. If you don't, awesome. But you want to live the best version of yourself. You want to be the best version. And we say, that you're vibrating at the highest level, right? You want to be vibrating here. You don't want to be this low vibrational being, right? You got to do the work. And so when we come back in 2 weeks, we're going to kind of work through this little exercise, and we're going to dive a little deeper into, reparenting the inner child, and then kind of like the next steps. But a couple of books that I have read that have been absolutely monumental for me. Louise Hay, I've said it before, Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life. That book is absolutely amazing for a number of reasons. You read it all the way through one time and you go through chapter by chapter. It's like a workbook. It Didn't Start With You is a book about epigenetics, and it's about generational trauma and how it gets passed down, and you don't even realize it. But know that you are either the person that is carrying the generational trauma, the weight of that, or you're the person that's carrying the weight of breaking the generational trauma for the family. Okay? And so everyone is one of those two people, period. So that's the other reason that you want to just kind of be loving and extend grace to folks, because everybody is carrying some heavy shit. All right. And if you're the one that's breaking the generational curse, when you do the work, you're the one that's healing the family lineage behind you and the ones that's to come. So by me doing the work, I now have a son who has high EQ, high emotional intelligence. And he can check me and be like, hey, you're the one that says you need to be able to speak your mind and be honest about how you feel and your emotions and things like that. I love it. He literally just had a conversation with me last week, right? So he's like, you got to own it. Own how you feel. How do you want to show up? Like, we live this thing. This is who we are. But I'm teaching him that so that he can have a different experience, because you know what? I repeated the same cycle that my mother, my grandmother, and my great-grandmother repeated. Same prototype of a man we all had kids by. Okay? Like, it's in my book. But literally, so when I say that's where that book, It Didn't Start With You, comes in, I had to figure out what those generational traumas were so I could be the one to stop that. So now, with my son, I'm teaching him all of these different behaviors and teaching him how to reparent himself. Because I haven't been a perfect parent either, right? And so he's able to then be a better person growing up, a better young man, a better man. And then if he chooses to get married and have kids, be a better family man. And then he's able to change the trajectory of our family dynamics, right? So it's another book. And then the last book, The Body Keeps Score. I definitely recommend that you get that book. It talks about how trauma, when you don't deal with the trauma, when you don't heal from it, when you don't learn from it, where it shows up in the body. and how it creates pain and dis-ease in the body. So these are just 3 books. They're all great reads. So that's it for me. I know I've talked a lot, so I'm gonna be quiet, and yeah, we'll pick it back up in 2 weeks.
No, girl, you didn't talk a lot. Like you talked enough. Like you gave us, you know, what we need. And I think self-love is an area as women that we all struggle with, and social media helps with that. So like when you don't see other people, then you're like, I'm doing good. And then you click on social media and you're like, oh shit, I'm gonna start again, right? And so, you know, if you could get to the point where you can acknowledge yourself, you could be grateful for where you are and for where you're going, it completely changes the way that you look at things. And I love that you said, like, if you can't love yourself, nobody else can love you the way that you're expecting to be loved. Like, it just doesn't happen that way. And we all struggle with that. I don't care if it's a guy or a girl. That's just something that we've got to acknowledge and embrace. And you and Jessie said, like, it's work. And I think that people want things to be so easy. If it's your business, you want it easy. A relationship, you want it easy. But to heal, it's never easy. You know, people always are going to have to work on it. And so doing the work, even being on these calls, that's work. I mean, you're taking out the middle of your day. And I get it, ladies, and I appreciate it. But it's because I just know that the only way that we can attain all the things that we say that we deserve and that we want in life is if we put in the work. And sometimes you don't know what the hell that work looks like. Mm-hmm. So like, it's so easy to say, oh yeah, go do this, but we don't know what the steps are. And so, you know, between you and Jessie, so the 2 ladies gave us inspiration from a business perspective of like what we can accomplish, but then you guys gave us like the soul searching side of it. And really, I probably should have done it the other way. I should have had you guys go first, because you got to do that part before you even can be successful in business. You know, like you'll go win at business by everybody else's standards, but if the soul isn't right, can't find a purpose along the way, I mean, it crumbles along the way. So I think that this was absolutely amazing. Let me just see if there's anything that anybody has on here. They're all just saying, yes, girl, yes, powerful. Thank you so much. You're amazing. Thank you for everything. So good. Fantastic. I love it. The work is work, but it's rewarding. Thanks, Kina. Erica, who is one of our resident speakers on here. My cousin stayed on the whole time. Thanks, Isa, too. I appreciate that. So yeah, so let's put your link in there one more good time. That way everybody can have the questions, and we'll post questions in the Facebook page, but that way you'll be able to get everything that Kina gives on a continuous basis. And Kina will be on every couple of weeks, and we'll figure out how often we're able to sneak Jessie on here. We'll figure out where we can work in the schedule. But I mean, this is what I envisioned this being from the very beginning. I'm like, a space for us to grow, and not everybody has intuitive friends. You just don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, I would never have met these 2 young ladies, and some of you guys are part of our lifestyle club and some of you aren't, but I would have never met these 2 young ladies had I not been a part of our club. And the name of the Facebook page is Brunchin with Beauties, same thing as like what the call is. And it's so important that you put yourself in position to meet the people that you need in life. And because we're so logical thinking that we're like, if this doesn't align with what I want right this second, I'm not doing it. But if you're presented with an opportunity that could allow you to grow, before you shut it down, explore it. See what it could be and see what great things you can take from it. You may not become a multimillionaire along the way financially, but like soul-wise you can, which to me is way more important. You know, there's so many multimillionaires that I know financially that their insides are so jacked up, yo. That's why you hear people addicted to things, and you know, you hear them committing suicide. You hear all these different things from people that look like they're winning on the outside, but that's because they didn't have these kind of inside friends. So whoever you guys feel like could value or receive value from this, just invite them on. Let them see what it is. Let them be inspired. Let them find another piece of them to dive into. And, you know, then we could all be wealthy together. It was Tatiana that said something about collaboration, and that's all that I think about. Like, I'm always thinking about life friends. I call them lifers. Who are the people that I could do life with, where I can make money with them, where I can grow spiritually with them? And most people have to have different friends for each thing. But like, my ultimate goal is to have a group of people I could do all of that with. And, you know, if you're in that same type of place, I think this circle will create it. And if you have some of your friends that they haven't got over that hurdle, they're not quite there, getting them onto calls like this allow them to start being a little bit more open. They're like, oh, it's not so bad. you know, these people aren't as weird as I thought they were. They're actually kind of like me, right? And so I want you to use this space for that. I hope everybody is having a great time. Know that we do have a Facebook page. Let me put this out here. Facebook page is not to sell anything, meaning like if you're in a home-based business and there's multiple people in different companies, if we catch you selling stuff, we're going to erase you out of the group. That's really not what it's for. You know, I am a proponent of people making their money. Go get your coins, boo. But don't force that on anybody else, right? I want people to be able to feel comfortable and learn that there's other people that are out there just like them. And so that's what our group is for, so we can support each other over and over again. Kina, can you put your Instagram in here too? That way, you know, that will, well, people can stay connected to you from there. Aw, look at this, my cousin. Oh, I'm so happy. By the way, like, I'm so excited to have my cousin on here. I finally started to send text messages out to tell people about the call. And it's so awesome to see, like, my cousin who had such a major impact in our family's life, for her to be able to see what I do, because we are in a space of home-based businesses, sometimes you, I don't want to say like alienate yourself, but you go through a certain point of time where you become more socially distant from people that aren't doing what you're doing. But I want to be able to bring things back. I want everybody that has the same heart to be able to be in the same space. So I love it for that. So ladies, if there's nothing else, we went way over, but I don't care, right? Like, I'm happy. I feel like we did what we were supposed to do, and the people that are here are supposed to be here with us. I did go live on our Facebook page. I don't know if it ended it. It might have. But I did go live on our Facebook page for a lot of it. So you'll be able to kind of chime in on there and see it on Facebook. I'll also finally do the recordings, guys. I've been horrible about doing the recordings, but I'm going to make myself, I'm going to go outside and I'm going to ground, like you talked about, Kina. I'm going to sit and I'm going to let my feet be in the grass, and I'm going to go ahead and upload some of these recordings so we can all have them. But I appreciate you guys on the Facebook page. If there's other things you want to hear, you want to learn from, you want to, any people that you feel like would be great for this, like, let's put it in there. I'm just thankful and grateful for you all. Happy Sunday. I hope you make this week way more powerful than last week. And it doesn't mean in your business, but within yourself. You know, I'm looking forward to that. And we have homework from Kina, so we'll be working on that. So in 2 weeks, Kina will have that ready and popping. And I think that's it, guys. If there's anything that you guys want to say, you definitely can. But otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and end the call. Have a positive and prosperous rest of the day, loves.
Thank you so much.